I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Village Board meeting, Tuesday, August 12th. If we'd all stand, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa.
Present.
Trustee DeVivo.
Present.
Trustee Kajanis.
Present.
Trustee Sable.
Present.
Trustee Suisse.
Present.
Trustee Yukich.
Present.
Mayor Daley.
Present. This would be D. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Okay. This would be E. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 9th, 2014 Special Village Board meeting?
I
So-
move.
That was first by Trustee Sweez,
Second.
second by Trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay. The next portion of this meeting is reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. Can everybody hear me out there tonight? Okay. The village building permit revenue in July totaled $34,613.67. Total building permit and contract revenue to date is $285,922.04. By July 2013, the village has issued 16 residential new home permits. By the end of July 2014, the village had issued 20 residential new home permits. This is incredibly new housing start growth good news. There were a total of 125 building permits issued by the building department in July, up from 115 permits issued in June. To date, there have been a total of 600 permits issued in 2014, which is an increase of 81 building permits compared to last year's running total through July. All good news. National Labor Relations Board found that American Water illegally slashed employee benefits. The U.S. National Labor Relations Board has issued a decision holding the American Water illegally slashed healthcare, retiree health, and disability benefits for 3,200 workers in 15 states across the U.S., including Illinois. The decision orders the company to pay with interest to all affected workers and to restore the illegal cuts in employee benefits. As the public knows, Homer Glen, Bolingbrook, Lamont, Romeoville, and Woodridge have together filed a lawsuit seeking to condemn and purchase the water transmission line that brings water to our communities. It is our hope that this lawsuit will be successful and we can begin to get control of Illinois American Water ever-increasing water rate costs. Under the 159th Street improvements, on August 7th, a pre-construction meeting was held at IDOT for tree removal contract for the 159th Street improvement project. Development Service Director Salamovich and Highway Commissioner DeVivo both attended the pre-construction meeting. The low bidder for the project was Homer Tree Service in the amount of $445,530.65. Although the contract is for the removal of trees within the entire limits of the project, from Gauger Road to Ravinia Avenue, it does not include all parcels within the project's limits, as numerous parcels are yet to be acquired by IDOT. IDOT has stated that 85 to 90% of the 159th Street parcels that they have required for this important project now have been acquired. Homer Tree Service will have 10 days to begin the work. From the date the contractors are executed, they will have 40 working days to complete this work. Okay, we'll go on with trustee reports then, and we'll start down with trustee Costa.
No report tonight, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, trustee Costa. Trustee Yukich?
No report tonight, Mayor.
Okay, how about trustee Sabo?
I have a report, reporting for the Environment Committee, the tree replacement program. At the next meeting of the Village Board, the Environment Committee will be presenting for consideration a tree replacement program for replacing trees in the village parkways that have been removed. A standard operating procedure has been developed for review, and the intention is to begin the tree planting program in the fall of 2014, and look forward to continuing planting trees in the spring of 2015. Homer Glen Lands Day. The Environment Committee is preparing for Homer Glen Lands Day Community and Nature and Harmony Awards to be recognizing individuals, businesses, groups, and organizations. The award will be presented at a future meeting of the Homer Glen Board, and more details will be announced in the near future. In commemoration of Homer Glen Lands Day, a tree will be planted at Stonebridge Park. The Environment Committee is coordinating the planting with the Parks and Recreation Committee. I do want to address an issue that was in the Homer Horizon, and it related to Woodbine. I wish to address an accusation made by a resident that was published in the Homer Horizon on August 7th, 2014, in the letters to the editor section, referring that I have a special deal with the Ludwig family and the Woodbine property. The accusation is unfounded and amounts to false allegations and character assassination. I have no involvement with the Ludwig family, no arrangement with them in any way, and no special deal. As a trustee, it is my responsibility to do my due diligence to see that the Woodbine property is planned well and developed properly as a community park. There is no foundation to accuse me of this of impropriety. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Sabo. Trustee K. Janice?
Mr. Mayor, yes, just really briefly, and not really a report, just a comment if I may. First of all, I'd like to say it's good to be back home after a road trip with my family, 4 daughters. I'd be remiss if I didn't say 4 daughters, my wife, 4 daughters, and 2 dogs. It was a good family trip, did a lot of good things, helped my mom out quite a bit. But it is good to be home in Homer Glen, and looking out to the audience and see so many good Homerians in the audience. Also, coming back on my return, I unfortunately didn't have the chance of being at the ceremony for the groundbreaking or the ribbon cutting for Myers. I had a chance to go in and shop Myers, as well as my other favorite stores, Aldi's, as well as Jewel's in our community. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say, for years now, you've been working due diligently to bring Myers to fruition in Homer Glen. I'd like to say, mission accomplished, beautiful store, beautiful staff, excellent job. It's a win for Myers family being here in Homer Glen, and it is a win for our residents and our taxpayers of Homer Glen. I just want to say your due diligence and your hard work on bringing this all together with the Goodings Grove area has long-term ramifications for the community in a positive way. Also, I'd like to say, put out some kudos to our Economic Development Director, Janie Patch, and staff, as well as Cameron, our village manager, who has been very proactive on assisting our local business and preparing for the changes on road conditions. She has been meeting with several businesses, working with them, trying to coordinate some needs they may have, some answers they may need. So I do want to put kudos out to the staff and to Director Patch for that. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, trustee Kay Janis. Trustee Swees?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reporting for the Homer Harvest Days Committee. Homer Harvest Days is fast approaching and will be held on September 6th and 7th at the Trantina Farm. History comes alive with demonstrations of farm activities, old-fashioned entertainment, live animal exhibits, pony rides, antique tractors, hay rides, food, children's activities, vendors, and live music. We cannot run an event of this magnitude without the assistance from the residents in the community. We are looking for volunteers before, during, and afterwards. Please check the website at homerharvestdays.com to obtain more information and to fill out the volunteer forms. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, trustee Swees. Trustee DeVivo?
Thank you, Mayor. My report today is actually on Long Run Creek and an issue that has come before us. In your manager's memo on Friday, there was a notice from IEPA. This notification was to advise the village that Illinois American Water Company has filed for an NPDES permit for the Chickasaw sewage treatment plant that is on Long Run Creek. NPDES stands for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, which all treatment plants are required to have to dump into waters of the United States. The notification from IEPA is to advise the village that they have 30 days to respond with any comments. I would like staff, and I will work with them, to draft a letter of comment to IEPA addressing the fact that Illinois American has not done any upgrade on the Chickasaw plant for many years. And although on a couple of occasions they've sent letters and let us know that they were going to do the upgrades, only to send a follow-up letter saying that they've had to table it. Now, as you know, there is a watershed plan for Long Run Creek, which has been approved by IEPA, and which contains recommendations to address pollutant loads for water quality. The Chickasaw plant is polluting with nitrogen and phosphate loading, and because of the age of the plant and no upgrades for many years, is listed in the plan as a high priority critical area. And anyone wants to look at the plan or the executive summary, that they're welcome to do that. It recommends that the plant upgrade with nutrient removal technologies. We, as the municipality, can also force a nutrient loading ordinance, and I recommend that we do this. The letter of comment is to let both IEPA and Illinois American know that we are aware of the excess pollutant issues and are suggesting solutions. This goes on record with IEPA so that when Illinois American applies for the permitting necessary for the upgrades to the plant, they will be addressed accordingly and our recommendations will be considered. Does anyone have an issue with that, and would you like to move forward with it?
Yes.
That's okay. So, okay. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, trustee DeVivo. Is there a treasurer's report?
No report this evening, Mayor.
I may, at a later date, ask you to explain the sheet of paper that I handed out to everybody to show you the finances of the Village of Homer Glen, what major projects we're working on, and what money, when people refer to the fact that we're broke, or that we may be broke, it's gonna run us into municipal tax and this and that, the next thing. I am going to have the financial director show you the excess unobligated money that is in the Village of Homer Glen. So you will be asked at a later date.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a clerk's report?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a village attorney report?
No report this evening.
Is there any task force chairpersons out there? Okay. Is there any public safety officials? Joe? You don't want to report that that big ugly sign came down by BI Rental? So that's one of two big ugly signs in town that got taken down. So everybody understands the only reason why that sign was left up was they were negotiating their easement with IDOT, and it couldn't be taken down prior to the easement agreement. It's down, laying on the ground now. One more to go. Thank you. Does the village manager have a report?
Mayor, I have a brief report, and actually, my report consists of Hugh O'Hara from the Will County Governmental League. Hugh's here tonight again. He's been before the board before. Very graciously agreed to come and give you an update on the Will Electric Aggregation Group. For the public's benefit, Across suburban Illinois, there are groups that are referred to as councils of government. And here in Will County, we're very well represented by the Will County Governmental League. And Hugh here works for that entity. And they've been the leading group that has worked to do electric aggregation in Will County, which over the past year, Homer, Glen, and all the 17 members now communities have saved around 20, residents in those communities and small businesses have saved about $25 million over this past year. Now we have to move on to the next phase of electric aggregation, and Will's going to give the board a very brief update on that. Thank you for being here, Will.
Thanks, Cam.
Or Hugh, excuse me.
That happens.
Known you for years.
All the time. As Cam said, I'm Hugh O'Hara with the Will County Governmental League. The Will County Governmental League put together a Will Electric Aggregation Group. 3 years ago, we were here, we talked about a referendum needed to be passed. Then 2 years ago, we were here to explain how aggregation would work, and now we're here to talk about the project having been renewed. We've expanded. We were originally 16 communities. We've now grown to 17. The city of Lockport has joined the group. And just a brief recap of where we were 2 years ago. We signed an agreement with First Energy. That was a 24-month agreement at 4.83 cents per kilowatt hour. The program, as Cam said, I wish it was $25 million in 1 year. It was $25.5 million in 2 years. And we believe that by the time the program ends in October, we'll have saved residents of these communities $30 million, or about $400 per household. Over the past several months, we've been going through a renewal process. We sent out RFPs to all licensed suppliers in the state of Illinois, so that was 48 different suppliers. 6 responded that they were interested, and I know that sounds like a really small number out of 48, but out of that 48, there was maybe 9 that would be a large enough supplier to handle a group this big. So out of those, we had 6 respond that they were interested. 2 submitted bids. 4 did not because they told us right off the bat that they could not beat ComEd's current price, and we obviously were not interested in a price that was higher than what you could get through ComEd. First Energy, the current supplier, decided not to bid on this. It's been in the paper the past few days that First Energy is pulling out of the Illinois market. They're getting out of residential aggregation here. So that wasn't terribly surprising that they didn't want to renew with us. So we have, 2 weeks ago, we did select a new supplier. We selected Homefield Energy. That was by a vote of the communities that are part of the aggregation group. It's for a 36-month program. It's got an average price of 6.95 cents per kilowatt hour, which is obviously an increase over 4.83 cents. 2 years ago, we bought at essentially the bottom of the electric market. Since then, prices have gone up. We're buying more on the upswing at this point, but we believe that prices are going to continue to rise over the next 3 years, and that this deal will look better and better over that time. If you saw recently, NRG is taking more generation out of the state of Illinois, so we feel that prices are going to continue to go up. So as I said, it's a 36-month deal, 6.99 cents for the first 24 months. Then for the last 12 months, it'll be 6.85 cents per kilowatt hour. To give you an idea, right now, when ComEd's new price starts in October, their price will be 7.42 cents per kilowatt hour. So there is still a savings there. Just a little bit about Homefield. They were the retail energy arm of Ameren, which is the downstate equivalent of ComEd, Midwest Generation, Exelon, that type of thing. They're now a subsidiary of Dynegy. So you may in the future see letters not coming from Homefield but from Dynegy as they rebrand. They currently serve 500,000 residential customers in Illinois, and more importantly, they have power generation here in Illinois. And the reason that that's important is that some communities who signed aggregation deals this last time, they signed it with suppliers who did not have any generation behind them. They were simply power brokers. And when the polar vortex happened and prices went from a couple $100 a megawatt hour to $10,000 a megawatt hour, those companies weren't able to keep up, and some of those communities lost their aggregation deals right in the middle of a month. They called and said, we can no longer provide your electricity. So what does this mean for the residents? Savings do still exist, obviously smaller, but they do still exist. We have 80-some thousand accounts, so I want to say this cautiously. It should be a seamless transition. There's obviously going to be some that maybe don't, but what will happen is 1 month you'll get a bill from First Energy. That'll be your last month with them. Around October, some in November, some as late as December. The next month you will get a bill from Homefield. All that'll change is the supply line on your ComEd bill. Nothing else will change. You won't obviously see any change in the electricity. Continue with, if you have an outage, you call ComEd. If there's lines down, you call ComEd. Even if you have a question with your bill, you start by calling ComEd. So for residents, really, nothing will change. Everyone will get the letter. Even if you opted out of the program 2 years ago, you will have to re-opt out of it again. That's just how the law works. We have to send it to everyone every 2 years, or every time we renew this. And you have 21 days that you can opt out initially, and then you'll be moved on to Homefield. If you feel like that's not a good deal for you, you want to do something else after that 21 days, you can leave this program at any time with no termination fees. So the residents, you can come and go essentially as you please. And like I said, we think it's a good deal. We think that it's going to be helpful. If you have any questions, you can call the Governmental League. You can ask for myself or Mike Clemens. The village also has a number for Homefield. If you have any questions, you can call them as well. And obviously, you can call the village and they can direct their questions if they're not sure to us. So if there's any questions, concerns?
I have a quick
Thank you, Hugh.
question.
Who has a question?
I have a
Go
quick
ahead,
question.
Trustee Sweet.
Was there possibly another company that might have been slightly more with more renewable energy because they use 80% coal and nuclear?
Their Homefield, as well as the other bidder, both provided options that would have provided more renewable energy. If you remember, the last contract was 100% renewable. This one is back to the state minimum.
Which is
And
what, 10, 15%?
It's 15%.
Okay.
And the group voted overwhelmingly to go back to go with the lowest price. They felt that this time, last time we were able to provide 42% savings even by going with renewable energy. This time, the savings would have been extremely small if we went with renewable, and the group felt that the best option was to provide residents with the most savings.
Okay, are there any further questions for Hugh? Thank you, Hugh.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Hugh. Mayor, that's my report. Thank you.
Okay. Then the next portion of this meeting would be public comment. Okay, when I call your name, step up to the microphone, name and address for the record. There's no swearing. We try to keep it above the belt and act like adults, okay? The first speaker will be Ken Price. Okay. Well, this is your time to speak if you want to say something about Wendy's, and if we have questions for you when Wendy's comes up, we'll also give you a call.
Okay. My name is Ken Price. I'm from Watermark Engineering. The firm's address is 2631 Ginger Woods Parkway, Aurora, Illinois. We're the civil engineering firm for the Wendy's remodel project here on Bell Road. Worked with staff and just want to compliment them for, helping us get through the process, and appreciate your time looking at the project. And I'll be here for questions when it's available, but just want to say thank you for everybody's time and looking into the project.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. David Gosdell.
14660 South Saddlebrook Lane, Homer, Glen. I'm here to talk about the trailer issue. I got a letter in the mail saying that I have to have my trailer out of my driveway. Obviously, this is a blight issue, and if my neighbors aren't complaining about it, why should I have to remove my trailer from my own driveway? Which I pay a heck of a lot of taxes in this town I bought an acre of land to make sure that I would be able to have storage for my trailer. I didn't know about this before I moved here. So I just don't understand why you guys, people are taking issue with me having a snowmobile trailer in my driveway.
I can address it.
I'll address it first as the mayor. First of all, I disagree with the recommendation from the Public Safety Committee. I think it needs to go back and have a tighter look at it as far as size, things that are maintained well, possibly units blocking, crosswalks. I know they've looked at it in a number of different ways, but this is a new thing for this community. We never had it when we were an incorporated community. As Joe Baber, the head of the building department, would testify, we have very, very, very few calls for blights on driveways. We seem to have one or two people show up to every single meeting that think that they dictate the way this village should look, and I'm sort of sick and tired of that myself. I don't believe that this was written correctly. I think it needs to be stayed, and I think it needs to be revisited, and I think that's pretty much what Trustee Yukich is going to reiterate, possibly. Go ahead, George.
As the mayor said, right now it is put off until March 1st because there are a lot of things that we have to look at, which we will vote on tonight to put the stay on until March 1st. But the safety committee came back with the same issue that you had, is we're punishing a lot of people that aren't doing anything wrong. And we're looking at it to make sure that we do right by everybody. So right now it is on hold until March 1st of next year. At that time, we will address what we can do. This way we get a chance to go out and take a look and see what some of the people have called about that did complain. And we've looked at some pictures where the people are completely in compliance, but when they put the notice out, it went to everyone that had a trailer, boat, snowmobile, motorcycle, anything that was stored. They sent a letter out to every single solitary person. And a lot of them are already in compliance, so there was no issue in the first place. We don't know that until we take a look at them. So March 1st is when we will look at it again, so it's 7 months away. And we'll let everyone know. It'll be in the newspaper. We'll make sure that people are notified that the meeting is coming up and more than welcome to come to the meeting. And this ordinance, Joe, I have a question. This ordinance started what, in 2008? Correct. Okay. So this ordinance started after someone else was the mayor. So it's been in effect since this mayor's been in the village. That's, so March 1st.
Yeah, and that's pending a stay. That'll be voted on further tonight. And as far as somebody want to take a shot at the mayor, it's been in since 2008. I've never put in force any ordinance that told you had to get your stuff off your driveway. That was done from the Public Safety Committee, which is George Yukich. Okay, so we make that real clear.
Election time.
So with that, yes, Trustee Costa.
And just for clarification of records, I am also the co-chair of that Public Safety Committee, and my name is Trustee Mike Costa. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, then the next speaker would be Mila, Thiess.
Mayor, that's me. That's my bad handwriting.
Okay.
It's Mike Easton, so.
Okay.
We're actually on the agenda later on for a Class A liquor license, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to say a few things before the question and answer period, if at all possible. We're now at our second lease over at the Jewel location. Our second lease only in the sense of we wanted to adhere to your requirements for a 1,500 square foot Class A restaurant license. We want to be in the Jewel location. We're currently now on our second lease that includes property that was unfilled before. We believe that we can attract customers. We believe that we add value to the mall. We believe that those then customers add to the tax base, both the property tax as a land, that the landlord pays, and the taxes that we generate either through our food and beverage sales or possibly our gaming sales. As it relates to the restaurant license, we've been approved in 4 of the markets for restaurant and restaurant qualification, including Hoffman Estates at Elk Grove Village, and then most recently Cicero, where all of our staff had to go through blood test and TB testing, and then had to prove that we had been vaccinated for hepatitis. So we're very serious about qualifying for a restaurant. To that point, we also have a cleanliness, pest control, chemical control problem, a chemical control program, excuse me, a food and inventory management program so that you can see the freshness of our food when it's turned over on a 5 to 7 day basis. And I'm trying to think what else. Complete with a 3-compartment sink. We've been passed by the DuPage County Health Department for a restaurant as well as several local jurisdictions. So we're here to try to satisfy you and show you that we are serious. We will meet your codes required for a restaurant, and I look forward to answering questions if they come up during the section of which we're up during the regular agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next speaker would be, is it Andrea Crowley? Okay, that's a good call, huh?
We also are an agenda item later, but my name is Andrea Crowley, address 10001 South Roberts Road, and that's Palos Hills 60465. I'm here on behalf of the Circle K that is hoping to take over the space that is currently a 7-Eleven at 14310 South Wilcook Road. 7-Eleven is pulling out of the area, so that franchise will be closing. Circle K is looking to take it over, and we are seeking a special use permit to operate outside normal business hours and a special use permit to allow the sale of alcohol, both of which are currently in place at the 7-Eleven that exists. And actually, we're not asking for anything that hasn't been in place since 2004 on the property, but we're a new business, and so we're here. We'll be available for questions. I'm here as well as the owner of the property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker would be Glen Gorman.
I'm also a Circle K. I don't have anything to add to what Andrea just commented on at this time.
Good.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, the first speaker, or the next speaker would be Lori Dilger.
Hi, my name is Lori Dilger. My address is 12107 Graceland Court in Countrywood Subdivision, Homer Glen. I've made no secret of my opinions on the future development of the Woodbine property that Homer Glen homeowners and taxpayers now own. Woodbine is an excellent venue to develop into an interactive as well as passive parcel of land that all residents, young and old, can enjoy and be proud of and call their own. I've attended meetings and viewed them online. One thing is clear to me: the development of Woodbine needs to be run much like a business. There needs to be a mission, objectives, strategies, and timelines developed. A committee with responsible residents who have only the very best of Homer Glen in mind needs to be put in place. Only people who have walked or driven all 103 acres of Woodbine, including village trustees, should be voicing any opinions on or about this committee or the property itself. Only once we have fully educated ourselves on the potential of this property, gotten the real lay of the land, so to speak, should there be any discussion about the adverse effects of lights, sports, recreation, passive activity, and traffic on the residents of Homer Glen. Timetables need to be set. Representatives on the Woodbine Committee should include people from the Woodbine subdivision. There should also be representation from Homer Glen seniors. I believe each sports organization within Homer Glen should have representation. And if there are any groups I've left out tonight, they should be included too. What we don't need anymore is additional fighting or discussion about continuing Woodbine as a golf course in 2015. Mid-Iron Golf Course has closed. I believe Cog Hill is for sale. Woodbine was saved from foreclosure. Golf is not a viable business alternative in 2015, as this property has already proven in 2012, 2013, and 2014. And believe me, I love golf, and I loved playing at Woodbine. However, for the future of our community, we need to be realistic and treat this purchase of Woodbine as a sensible business venture. Remove the negativity. There are flooding issues in Woodbine subdivision. There have been for years. Let's work to fix them instead of using the development of Woodbine property as another reason to prolong the flooding problems. Why can't we be proactive on both the development of Woodbine and the correction of flooding problems in the subdivision? It seems to me that one engineering firm could be hired to correct and improve at the same time. Remove the negativity. Why would lighting issues be only issues in Homer Glen? This baffles me. Is there some reason why Orland Park, Naperville, Bolingbrook, and countless other neighboring suburbs can operate and maintain open park spaces with lights and we should not? Let's work to solve this. Quit pinning problems on developing Woodbine without even attempting a plan. What's the rush? There is no rush. We are just taxpayers who want to move ahead to formulate a conscientious plan for 103 acres we already own. Mayor Daley says we have the money to start working on this. I believe the man. Be proactive for our community, please. Take a look at the kids who are here tonight. Stop fighting and start doing. Stop stalling and start organizing. Stop worrying about the next election and let's start doing what's right for Homer Glen right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. The next speaker would be Doug West.
I'm just going to say I covered it. I don't think I need to say anything else, so waste your time.
Thank you, Doug. Man, a few words, huh? Brock Backel.
Good evening. Brock Backel, 15026 Eagle Ridge Drive. I have a few questions first before I get into what I'm going to talk about. But Mayor, can you let us know how many years you were on the Stallion Board, Homer Stallion Board?
11 years. No, I take that back. I was a coach for 11 years, board member for 8, 5-year president.
So you were president for 5 years?
Correct.
You don't find any conflict of interest in your pursuit of the sports fields at Woodbine?
Absolutely not.
Okay. The mayor and the board are going to let everybody know that they have not made any determinations on how they're going to pay for this Woodbine project, but I can tell you, make no mistake about it, the taxpayers are going to end up with the burden of this. And the mayor, once again, has had private meetings with the sports clubs in order to curry favor with this voting block in advance of this project. This may not be illegal, perhaps maybe unethical, but it certainly shows the mayor's bias towards the sports groups and his ignoring of the 98% of the taxpayers that will be footing the bill for this project. When I became a member of HAC 15 years ago, that's Homer Athletic Club, their budget was around $85,000 a year, and I was one of their biggest supporters and volunteers. I left that program 6 years ago, and 6 years ago they had a budget close to $1 million. They never needed field space at that time or previously, and as a matter of fact, they had so much extra field space available that they used to rent their field time to the Homer Crush and other teams when their fields were not being occupied. The bottom line is this: HAC is a very wealthy club and does not need any more fields. If they want more fields, they should pay for it with their own money. But the question that I have, well, the comment I have is they don't need to burden the taxpayers. And if they don't have the $1 million in revenue any longer that they once had, then the question is why? Are their enrollment numbers down? And if that's the case, why would they need more fields? It's kind of an interesting conundrum, don't you think? The next information I have, all this information that I have here was provided to me through the Freedom of Information Act. Soccer, Homer Soccer, that was a great article in the paper the other day, by the way. Homer Soccer, they've been complaining about field space since I was at the March meeting. And I'm not sure if anybody here knows why Homer Soccer needs field space. Homer Soccer, without the permission or the knowledge of the Homer Township Board, was leasing its field space to outside groups. They were not compliant with their concession sales, and they did not meet the residency requirements in order to utilize Homer Township fields. That information is in the Freedom of Information Act that was provided to me through Homer Township. So these are not just facts I'm throwing out there. The Stallions, first off, Trustee Mike Costa asked Brian Crockett 6 months ago to give the board the enrollment numbers for this year and for the past 5 years in order to establish a trend in enrollment. As far as I know, has that been done yet? No? No one's received those numbers yet? I'm wondering why. Could it be that the numbers don't favor the mayor's need for new fields at Woodbine? Could it be that Mayor Daley made a campaign promise to get the Stallions more room if he became mayor in the last 2 elections? Or could it be that the enrollment numbers will show membership from outside Homer? That would be of interest to us taxpayers. At the last month's meeting, I asked the mayor about memberships for these clubs from outside of Homer Glen, from Orland, from Lamont, from Lockport. And the mayor told me that these clubs charge their members a larger fee to play in Homer. And that's interesting and that's nice, but I would like to know how that benefits the taxpayers of Homer that are going to be footing the bill for these fields. If we've got outside people, I don't understand. You know, are they going to buy an extra Happy Meal at McDonald's on their way home from the field? I mean, is that how we're going to benefit from having these outside people coming in and playing on our fields that we're paying for? I don't understand it. But in closing, I want to be absolutely clear about one point. The taxpayers of Homer Glen are not anti-sport. It's actually quite the contrary. We just do not believe that it's our obligation to subsidize the burden of providing our hard-earned tax dollars to fund sports clubs in Homer Glen. That's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see who we got next. Looks like Poles is the last name. 267-502.
Oh, I have nothing to say.
Okay. All right. Jim Pfeiffer.
I'm Jim Pfeiffer, the AD for Homer Stallions, 16639 West Montauk, Lockport. I know Brian Crockett is going to come up and probably expand upon a lot of what's been talked about today. I just want to say, as someone who has recently moved here, 8 years in the area, I've been in part of the program, both Lockport programs and Homer programs now for 7 years. We've been out at Parker Road for the last few years. Just want to mention that we do need the space. As someone who's coached out there for the last 3 years, we've been on 33 C's land. They've graciously allowed us to use that property for our players out there. We currently have 7 teams out there, from junior widgets on up to Pee Wee. So that's 6 and 7-year-olds up to 11-year-olds. There's approximately 20 to 30 players per team. So you're talking about 140 players or 150 players that are pretty much displaced. And at this time, as the AD, numbers are falling in some areas, but my concern is, and some of those numbers are declining because of safety issues. My biggest concern is, we work to bring, have the families bring water out there. There's not water out there for the kids to access other than what they bring. We obviously bring first aid equipment and things to take care of our players if something were to occur. We have the Will County sheriffs out there helping with traffic. There's just a number of things that we could probably improve to improve that area or that site if we were able to increase the space that we use. Again, I know Brian's going to expand upon some other things, but just as AD of the program, someone who, my first issue is being out at the fields and watching the kids every day and making sure that, their kids are safe under my watch, 3 of my own. I just want to mention that that's one of my biggest concerns, is both AD as a coach as well as a parent.
Okay. Next speaker would be Diesel Kroll. Let's go with an address, 15119 Brazier Road. Okay, 708-323-0444. No comment? Okay. Alrighty. Patrick Crowley.
Right here, I don't have anything to add. I do agree with everything that Jim Piper just said.
Thank you. Brian Ganser.
Uh, 14439 Ann Court, Brian Ganser. I think like some of the other folks, when I signed in, I didn't realize it was to speak, but with that being said, I thought it'd be good to voice my opinion. So, like some of the other folks that had mentioned before, I am fully in favor of leveraging the fields for sports fields. I grew up in a family in Tinley Park that was very sports oriented. I've got 3 children now today that are involved in a number of activities in Homer Glen, and I've had the opportunity to travel around to a lot of other towns, and I can tell you that the amount of fields that we have to play on, the quality of fields that we have to play on, and the amount of parking that we have is insufficient compared to 90% of the folks at 90% of the locations that we go to. Pay a significant amount of taxes here locally and don't get a lot out of it. And I believe that this is something that's important for the community, the children, and fully in favor. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa Sorokoa?
I fully agree with what Brian just said, so that pretty much sums it up for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tareed Isa?
Yes, how are you? 15056 South Cream Road, Homer Glen. One of the villagers, people came to me, I just got chickens, and there's only 3 of them, saying that I can't have chickens because I'm a residential zone. But next to me, it's a farm. In front of me, they have horses, and behind me, they have a cornfield. So, and I have 1.5 acres, and I don't know why it's not okay for me to have what I want when I have so much room, and it's not dirty, it's not stinky, there's no smell. So they told me to come here and bring it aware to you guys.
Thank you. Your best bet is to talk with our zoning personnel.
They told me to come here to the meeting. Yeah.
Erin, you told her to come here?
No, it wasn't her, it was another person.
Maybe the receptionist did. The person to talk to is the young lady sitting
They told me that I am not agriculture, the people north of me are. I am residential. And in the city, they have chickens.
Please contact her tomorrow, and she'll explain exactly the zoning ordinances and what you can and can't have, okay? Thank you. Okay, the next speaker would be
We allow cats and dogs.
Jordan Giovinski. Jordan?
There are some.
Okay. And we have Mary O'Connor.
I'll wait until the trailer issue is discussed further.
Okay. Well, you know what? This is your chance to speak in public comment if you'd like to say how you feel about it.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
No, I'm not agreeing. I agree with you that this is arbitrary and unfair rule
We have a boat, we've had it for 28 years, a boat of one or another. We've been in Homer Township since way before it was a village. I believe this is arbitrary. I believe problems should be handled on an individual basis. I have had no complaints, and I do know that there are people with boats and trailers who did not receive letters, that do not have them properly housed. I want the board to please consider the cost and the inconvenience of trailering a boat or taking a boat to a outside place to have it stored. Not only the cost of having the monthly fee, but the extra insurance, the fact that there are very few places to store these vehicles. The closest we could find that was reasonably priced and still would cost us $700 a year is in Romeoville, 10 miles away, which means if something happens, we might not know it until we get a call from the police saying our boat's been destroyed by vandals. So I do hope that these things are considered along with the complaints of very, 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 very few people, as you said yourself. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, Kevin from 630-688-1291.
I'm here in support of the sports fields. I'd really like to see move forward on this. And that's about all I have to say. I agree with people who spoke before me. Thank you.
Okay, Kevin. Brian Crockey.
Mr. Mayor and Board, thank you for having us again. First, I'd like to thank our families that are here tonight and the young kids who have sat through the meeting, and sometimes we're a young child sitting through these types of meetings. I mean, some of us, even as older children, don't understand what goes on in these meetings, so I'm sure that some of the younger kids are struggling. So thank you very much. I hope all of you, Mayor and trustees, look around this room, and I hope you look around and see the youth here. The youth are not here to muscle or to unjustly influence you, but to say something. And that is that it's time for the youth to get some things in Homer Glen that they have not had in the past. I think it's important to discuss a couple of the topics that were brought up. First of all, Broke, and I've known Broke for a long time. Unfortunately, I find much of what Broke says to be completely inaccurate. But unfortunately, or fortunately, here, we are entitled to our opinions. The number, Mr. Costa, Trustee Costa, if you are interested, and you're always welcome to come to our meetings, which are posted on our website, is 461. And I assume Mr. Brock knew about that because he must have had a meeting with you, which I think is okay to have. No. It's not? Okay.
No, he did not.
Okay. Well, then I don't know how you seem to get your information, but 461, it's a public number. We're happy to share with anybody. We go anywhere between 400 and 500 about every year, and I know, Mike, you were involved in the organization for a while, so it probably goes along with your thoughts. Mr. Mayor, I was sitting here and I missed a little bit about what you said. You were involved with the Stallions for many years, right? Would you just repeat one more time how many years you were involved with us?
I was involved with the Homer Stallions for 11 years as a coach, 8-year board member, 5-year president, 2-year treasurer, and 1-year first vice president.
So, maybe a little different than Mr. Backlefield. I look at that as somebody who wants to be involved in their community. And that's the way I look at it. So, Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the Homer Stallions, including yourself and Mr. Costa, who are involved, we thank you very much for everything you've done for us. To address Ms. Lori Dilger, who came up here, and she came up to talk about her letter, I want to say that I can't address all parts of the letter. I want to tell you, Mr. Ludwig, I do not know you personally, but I can tell you that the Homer Stallions, our board, and our members have no issue with you, with your golf course, what took place, and that is not why we're here. So for whatever has happened or transpired, we are not involved in that. We don't condone it or not condone it. I apologize personally, and please accept that for any wrongdoing that you may have heard about or hardships, but on the behalf of the Homer Stallions, we have no ill feelings whatsoever and only support everything you've done in this community. Okay. I want to say that in that letter, it was pointed out that myself, Dave Dilger, and a representative from HAC did go around the Woodbine Golf Course at the invitation of Trustee Yukich and Trustee Sways to go around and tour Woodbine. They wanted to see what we thought about practice space and what could be utilized. We went around and we located the 2 holes that were directly contiguous to the sports complex. We pointed that out to Trustee Yukich and Trustee Sways, and we said we felt that this did not impact any residents in any of the subdivisions, was right next to our complex, which would be able to keep all of our families and players there at the complex as used to be. This used to be the case before the library expanded, so we weren't able and adequate to handle everybody. And we pointed it out to Trustee Yukich and Trustee Sway. We probably spent a good hour and a half, I would say, out on the course. And to quote Trustee Yukich, and please, I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, Trustee Yukich's comments were, I can support this. This seems to make sense. And so we left that meeting feeling very comfortable that we were fair, we took the time to spend with a couple of our trustees, and they were supportive of what we were trying to do. Unfortunately, now it's come out that the 18-hole golf course is now part of the scheme again for next year, that there are some trustees that support that. I find it very interesting that this only came up a few board meetings ago in old business when most everybody already left the meeting. And I think it's important for everybody that's here tonight that wants to talk about Woodbine and listen that if you notice in the agenda, this is in old business again, so you might want to stick around. Mr. Mayor, I know the Village of Homer Glen did hold a meeting at the junior high, Homer Junior High, an open meeting, inviting all the residents to come and discuss Woodbine. On not one but 2 occasions during that meeting, Mr. Mayor, you asked all of the trustees if they had any comments, any opinions, anything to say about what they thought about the space. Not at one time did any trustee bring up that they supported having an 18-hole course for 2015. This was a transparent meeting, mind you. This was a meeting that several trustees said was very important to show the transparency of our village. But I question if some of the trustees were truly transparent, because when given the opportunity with a large crowd to voice their support for an 18-hole golf course in 2015, all of a sudden they said nothing. But at a meeting several weeks later in old business, when there might have been 6 people in the audience, all of a sudden it came back out that they supported it. I find that very interesting. I don't find it very forthcoming. Trustees and Mr. Mayor, we hope that you'll take this time to think about all of our needs. It is not just for the sports groups. It is for everybody in Homer Glen. But we have given, all of our sports groups have given, for over 50 years. We have supported this community. Now it's time that the community has a chance to give back to us a little bit. And we hope tonight you will look at that opportunity on the taxpayer-owned land on 151st Street that is owned by the taxpayers to give us a small piece of that land for the safety and security of our families. I appreciate the time and thank you very much.
Mayor, I would like to address that.
Thank you, Brian. That was well put. I believe we're going to have a discussion a little bit later.
I still want to address a couple comments that were made, though.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Brian, first of all, when we did have the meeting, if you also remember, I told you that not one of us, trustees or mayor, can promise anything to you because we do not have the authority to. I did tell you that I am in favor of the plan of having practice fields there. But I also told you that my first concern was correcting the flooding problems, making sure everything was engineered before we did anything to it. And as for transparency, when we were told before the meeting that this is a public comment section for all the residents to say something. That's what they did. We listened to what they had to say. I had already talked to you guys, and I was pretty open about it, of what I felt about it, and so did Trustee Suisse. We have no issue whatsoever with putting playing fields in the park. But what everyone has to understand is, and we've addressed it a few times, perfect example, Evergreen Park they had a golf course. When Babe died at Evergreen Golf Course, she had 102 acres and she donated it to the village. Took the village 2 years to figure out what they were gonna do with the dirt. After that, then they sat down with architects to get it designed, because then they wanted to make sure they got everything straight. Started in 2009. They opened it last month. That's how long it does take to get the engineering down, try to figure out where everything is gonna go. Make sure you address all the people that are gonna be around it and everyone that's gonna use it. As for the taxpayer money, you gotta remember, we don't have a municipal tax. And yes, we do pay very large taxes out here. But none of the taxes that you pay come to the village. That's what we're trying to not happen. If you rush this thing through, you can alter the dirt, which would cause more flooding. And Brian, you sent me pictures of your house, and I actually have them right here with your comments of what you said about it. He lives by Woodbine. He showed me some pictures. Water had to be 6 inches deep. Don't you think that should be addressed before we let kids start jumping on the dirt? All we're trying to do is, we've asked you, give us some time. We don't know where the money's coming from right now. And the mayor says it's bond money. We will talk about that later.
That's perfect.
George,
So,
to
and as
answer
long
your question.
As long as, let me make a statement here, Brian. As long as trustee Yukich is referring to a golf course is taking so long to transpire and move dirt and do this, it's not being made a park. It's got a Walmart or something on it. It's a totally bad example to use of a development from a golf course to, it's not a golf course to a park. It's a golf course to a Walmart with a small section of it being a park.
Well, apparently you're not reading the newspaper, because it is a park, and it is a Walmart, and it is also a Myers, or a Home Depot.
Go ahead.
So you should get
Go ahead.
them straightened out first.
I appreciate
All
your-
I'm trying to do is tell you, yes, I am in favor of it, and most of this board is. In fact, as far as I know, everyone's in favor of doing it. You gotta give it time. You gotta figure out where the money's coming from. Because if people think that they don't have high taxes now and a municipal tax is thrown in here to pay for the sports field, where's that gonna lead us?
Here's
George, how long have you been on the board for now?
Almost 6 years now.
6 years. And let me ask you a question, George. How long have you known about flooding in Woodbine subdivision?
I've known about it for a long time.
At least 6 years?
I'd say probably close to it.
So, George, how much more time do you need to fix the flooding in Woodbine? Another 6 years?
Woodbine at the time, and you can't go on.
We're done with time. George, I think we're all, George,
You know what? You won't-
George, time, when you say time, George, when you say time goes forever.
No, time.
Next year, we have opportunities to help our youth, okay? We can still do what you're talking about. It can still be done, okay? But time, let's fix the flooding. For 6 years, it's still been flooding, George, and you've known about it. It's not fixed.
Here's a perfect example. You can stand right there, Brian. Hold on. You talk about the flooding. I've done a little research on it myself, and I do research on different things, how long it takes, and firms tend to want to make things longer than they have to be, well, because, they can charge more. I talked with the engineer here that's located, KDF, right here in Homer Glen, who does a lot of municipal work for Aries, who actually does all the fix-its for, Illinois American, big contract with them. Good morning, Jim. Pursuant to our meeting on Friday, please find attached a proposal for proposed drainage improvements at the east side of Woodbine Golf Course. It is my understanding that there is some flooding issues in the subdivision to the east of the golf course. In order to reduce the runoff, it has been suggested that restricted detention areas should be excavated at both outfalls from the golf course. These ponds will slow the release of runoff to downstream system. I would anticipate, listen to this one, I would anticipate that this project could be completed from design to construction in approximately 3 to 4 months. If you have any questions or if there's any additional information required, please contact our office at its earliest convenience. I can't fix their drainage problems if I can't put backhoes on the property. I can't put inlets in there that have manholes right now, that the water is running right over the top of the manholes. I've looked at the lines with engineers in the subdivision that go from anywhere from 16s to 18s to 24s to 40s, all over the place. What is being suggested here, separate from Woodbine, the development of a park, is that this would handle Woodbine's project. A simple fix of a couple detention ponds to slow the flow down, to allow the lines that are in Woodbine to act the way they're supposed to act. What is it, 3 to 4 months from the time they shoot it to the time they dig it to the time it works. Not 6 years. 3 to 4 months. But I have to have access to that golf course to take care of these people's flooding problems, along with their sports needs, along with their passive needs, and it's about time we stop with this monkey business and take control of our destiny and get it done. Go out, put it out to RFQ, bring in qualified people, shut this down December 31st, start working on it, get the banquet facility done, up and running, get out of here, cut the $250,000 in this building, get over there sometime in March. We're in the building, we're working on a golf course from the building, we're handling the Woodbine problems, and that can be done, or we can kick the can down the road. That's all I gotta say. Okay, the next speaker would be Barb Knightsky.
Sorry, Mayor. Barb Knightsky, 14110 Yankee Drive. And just from that comment in your conversation there tells me that I have nothing against ball fields. I have nothing against sports because I have 3 girls that came up through sports, and we have a non-for-profit organization still to this day that the Bandits came out of. But my problem seems to be when we left that meeting at the school, you announced there would be further meetings, further conversation about what would be happening there. I've heard nothing, and the only thing I agree with Brian is everything seems to be stuck into old business so that we don't hear about it. And I support all these kids coming out.
We have
Excuse
not
me,
gone
this
out
is
to
my 3
RFQ
minutes.
yet. We have not gone out to RFQ yet because the decision has to be made first whether or not there is going to be a termination of Woodbine December 31st, or whether or not there will be an extension for another year. You don't go out to RFQ before that. Once that's resolved, we will go out to RFQ, and you will have proper engineers come in here
I'm talking
and
about
bid-
where's the
bid- bid
meetings
for
you
this job.
promised? Where's the meetings that you said that would be further, and the community and the people in the area would be
They
involved?
don't take place until you go out for an RFQ.
Okay, but from your turnout here, that there's less residents here than there are kids here, tells me that this is favored toward the Homercians or the sports teams. This is not about what's good for the community. I'm not saying ball's not good for the community. That's not what I'm saying. But there seems to be an unbalance here. That's what I'm saying. And maybe we need to look at this in a bigger meeting where you can have, like we had at the school, and have everybody that's involved and not the kids here. Because I have nothing against the kids, but really it's the parents, it's the taxpayers, it's the people that live here that are involved. What happened to our plans of living in harmony and living with the environment and living in our community? This has all been changing. Now you're changing it, talking about changing the property, so now you need to get in there to change things. You want to get in there so that you can move things forward and rush this. I agree, we need to take time and figure out what's best. And why are we only talking about ball there? What happened to the other sports teams, or what else that they discussed at the school to put into there? Why is it only we're speaking about ball fields? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, the next speaker would be Mike Torres. Mike Torres.
Hi, Mike Torres, 12413 Huntley Road, Homer Glen, Illinois. I've attended about every meeting on this, and there's been a ton of meetings. I've heard different discussions about everything, and I don't think this is just geared towards sports, this facility. If you've been around the different areas, this is a huge opportunity. There could be crafts, elderly usage, tons of usage by this park the facility will have. But I have heard here, and I'll say Trustee Yukich has always talked about in the future, we have to wait, we have to wait. The nice thing about this property is there's already golf carts going on. This isn't some open piece of land that no one's ever utilized. It's being utilized all day. It's got golf carts on it. People are walking on it. If kids were going to go over there as a practice field and use it as temporary usage now, I heard someone say earlier that enrollment's down or we don't have enough stuff. You must have never driven by a field during baseball. I coach baseball. Half these guys dedicate all their time, and the women here coaching, and no one takes a dime for it. I don't make a dime. I've coached 7 years in Homer Glen, and I can tell you this right now. When you go on to Culver Field, for example, it is the most unsafe area in the world. You got teams packed upon teams, balls flying everywhere. I mean, people have to sometimes show up and say, we have to cancel practice, there's no space. I've been over there. We have to use a cornfield for football. You have to use a cornfield. There's no real restrooms or real safety there. You got everyone squeezing through trying to park. There's no real parking there, but we make do, we make shift of what we got. I've heard these different examples that fiscally we don't have it, we don't have it. It's there. We have enough to do this, to get this going, to get this started. There could be a long-term portion. That's fine. In any business, you make those decisions. You do what you can do immediately that benefits everyone, and then you do a little longer planning on some more detailed, more expensive pieces, but the property's there. We own it. And I've heard different things before about the environment. This is already environmental studies. To me, these seem like delaying tactics, to hold back tactics. I'll tell you, I've been here 7 years, moved here when my son Tyler was 3, he's 10 now. We've got another guy who's 5. He asked me the best question on the way in here. Well, if we own it, Dad, why wouldn't people want us to use it? And that's a crazy question. These kids are here because their parents care, they care. We're not making this all about sports. There could be so much other usage. My crazy part is I drive out to Crest Hill, and there's some phenomenal fields out in Crest Hill. I drive by the Park District in Lockport, and this isn't Lockport, this is Homer Glen. This is the village of Homer Glen. It says that right behind there. And maybe I'm wrong, but you're Homer Glen trustees. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I missed something, is that correct? You're Homer Glen trustees. Do something for Homer Glen. Hassard Park is phenomenal, but that'll take me from here forever to get there. And if you go to the Park District, I got one of their pamphlets. You should take a look at their pamphlet. All the stuff they offer to all ages, genders, everything. We don't have that. If you're a trustee of Homer Glen, start acting like it. Do something to move this forward. This is a great community. I live right behind Myers. I could have been someone that complained about it. It was done right. That's fine. I love it. McDonald's is putting $1 million into it. Wendy's is improving. I love it. Someone else wants to come in over there. I think it's fantastic. Develop the area, and it's been developed appropriately. We're not struggling for land here, and this is already being used for recreation. So I ask is move forward with this opportunity. We have it, we own it, use it, so these kids aren't already away in college before it's done. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes public comment for tonight. The next portion of this meeting is legislation and action items. The first one would be H1. I'd ask everybody to stay around because there is going to be a discussion with Mr. Ludwig, which is the last thing tonight. Okay, legislation and action items, H1. Is there a motion to approve the mayor's appointment of trustee Swees to the village's Administration and Finance Committee? It is understood that trustee Swees will immediately take over trustee Costa's position on the A&F committee.
So moved.
First by trustee Costa.
Second.
Second by that was trustee
Either one of
Yukich.
us, yeah.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thanks for your job, or thanks for your time on the A&F, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor.
This would be H2. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 14-039, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a special use to permit a final planned unit development for the property commonly known as 14115 South Bell Road, Homer Glen, Illinois, which is referred to as Wendy's International Incorporation, conditioned upon the submittal, review, and approval of final engineering plans by the village staff.
Second.
That would be a first by trustee Sabo and a
Second.
second by trustee Kay Janis. Is there any discussion?
Yes,
Madam-
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Hi. I was just wondering, there's a lot of signage and a lot of wording on there, and I was wondering that quality, the paragraph between the carryout windows, is that really necessary? It seems like it really clutters up the building because you can't really see it from the angle of when you look at some of the big pictures here. I was just curious. And that's not going to be lit up, those are just letters.
That's correct. It is just pin letters. The color scheme, it's very subdued. It is just for, branding and imaging as a standard package with Wendy's International. It's a part of their standard nationwide program that they're going through. But the sign is not lit, and again, the color scheme is very subdued. I do have a photograph on my iPhone if you wanted to see.
No, we have the
picture. Okay.
Okay.
But
So really, the only people that can really see it, according to the pictures, people going through the carryout window, correct?
that is correct. That's its audience. It's not like the wall signage where we're, the building is trying to make sure people are aware of the location or something. It's just for, the people in the drive-through.
So what we're looking at on these diagrams is the way it's going to look.
For the most part, those building elevations, the corporate does a general rendering of the building.
Okay.
And the building elevations you have in the black and whites are what we really are proposing, but the color graphics are to convey that that's in character with what we're doing.
And then just one other question, because I know now you do have, I believe, a railing. Are you going to do something to protect safety from this entrance that leads out into the carryout traffic?
That is correct.
Because there's nothing here.
In the geometric plan, we do have a sidewalk coming out on that side. It may be annotated in the architect's plan, but we can
The
revise
attachment
that.
B on
page
page 2.
Is that?
Attachment B, page 2.
Yeah. I'm looking at the plans that we just resubmitted to the village. I do not see a call out for it on our plans, but we can add that too, because I would agree with you that a nice handrail there would add safety. And we can add that to the plans.
Okay, that's all I think that's my comment.
Are there any other further questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kajana?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
This would be H3. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 14-040, an ordinance amending section 13 of ordinance number 14-021, providing for the control of alcoholic liquor within the Village of Homer Glen? It is understood that the number of Class G liquor licenses, beer and wine package sale, will decrease from 8 to 7 within the Village of Homer Glen.
So moved.
That would be trustee Costa.
Second. Trustee Yukich.
Trustee Yukich? Okay, trustee Yukich, and second by trustee Kay Janis. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kajianis.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Suisse.
Aye.
Trustee Yukic.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 14-041, an ordinance amending section 13 of ordinance number 14-021, providing for the control of alcoholic liquor within the village of Homer Glen? It is understood that the number of Class D liquor licenses, package stores, will decrease from 5 to 4 within the village of Homer Glen, effective August 29, 2014.
So moved.
First by trustee Yukic.
I second.
Second by trustee Sweez. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Kajianis.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Suisse.
Aye.
Trustee Yukic.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
This would be H5. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 14-042, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a special use to permit the sale of alcoholic beverages and a special use to permit hours of operation outside the normal business hours for the property commonly known as 14310 South Wilcook Road, Homer Glen, Illinois, GRG Enterprises, Inc., DBA Will County Circle K.
So moved.
First by trustee Costa, second by trustee Yukic. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Please.
Trustee, I believe that was Yukic?
Yes. Two things. When we went to the planning commission, a bunch of the neighbors were there explaining the situation that they have with the noise around the place and the hours of the place. What we would like is to have two exceptions. Alcohol-wise, the alcohol is sold till 1 o'clock every day except for Friday and Saturday sold till 2, is to bring that down to 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock is a cap all the way across the board. And then the other one is there are no deliveries in the back of the building from 9 PM until 6 AM because it's too close to the houses and the noise and wakes up the neighbors. That's all I've got on it.
Okay, Aaron, as far as this category goes, what are the normal business hours for packaged liquor?
The liquor ordinance has for the entire, across all the categories, it would be Sundays from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. the following day, Monday through Thursday at 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. the following day, and then Fridays and Saturdays, 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. the following day.
Okay, so you're saying you're trying to bring the number down?
Cut 1 hour off on
cut-
Friday and Saturday to make it 1 o'clock.
Okay. Now, the same exact entity that would get this license would have till 2 o'clock. Is that what you're saying?
The current petitioner, or this current entity?
No.
Oh.
Other,
The current license holder has until 2 o'clock.
okay.
Yes.
Now, other
That's
license.
7-Eleven.
Okay. Other license holders of the same package, fall under packaged liquor, do they all have 2 o'clock?
Right.
Then I don't know how you have one person have 1 o'clock and the rest of them get 2 o'clock.
Well, the reason that I'm looking to have that done is because there's no other places that are around that sell liquor that have houses right behind them. The houses are 40 to 50 feet behind it. You're just keeping the people, by 2 o'clock, if they're going out to buy alcohol, unless they work at night, they're already buzzed and they're looking for a little bit more. So why don't you just let them go somewhere else for it? 1 o'clock's late enough.
Well, hold it. I'm not, that's not my point. My point is a legal point. Are there, Georgia said this is because it's proximate to another neighborhood. Are there other package dealerships that are proximate to neighborhoods that are gonna be coming right back in and asking for the same thing?
I don't know that there's any as close as this. This is probably the closest. Probably the
Okay,
closest.
then, okay.
Probably the closest.
I can accept that.
Yep.
Then the question becomes for the village attorney, can you do this without, you're basically creating a new
Well, it's a condition of this, it's a special use ordinance, and it's a condition of the special use ordinance, so that's not a problem.
So they would be
Put
getting,
these two conditions, to put these two conditions in the special use ordinance.
okay. Okay. I don't have an issue with that, I'm just trying to make sure everything's on the up and up. Okay, any other questions then?
No,
Trustee
just a
Sims?
statement, and I do, Mr. Mayor, I do support the approval of this motion, and I do understand and support the change in delivery hours. I also, though, we have to understand, this is one establishment amongst many in this shopping center. So putting a condition on one establishment that's located in this center, if we're looking at relieving the traffic that might come in behind the building, which is along the houses, which I full-heartedly agree with, it does not put a condition on those other businesses. So, you know, we may be throwing that hook out there saying we're doing this, but yet it still could be the same situation. How do we take care of that as far as the shopping center is concerned with the houses directly behind the shopping center, just not behind a specific business, but behind the shopping center?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, trustee.
Do we have any other businesses in that shopping center that are open 24/7?
I think that this is probably the latest business. Of course, the reason you're able to restrict this is because they're asking you for something. So if the dry cleaner is having deliveries late, I don't know when the dry cleaner has deliveries.
No.
If they're delivering something at 5 in the morning or whatever, you're not putting a restriction on the dry cleaner. You're just putting a restriction on the business entity that is asking for
What
a
I'm
special.
asking is, are there
So-
any other businesses in that
That's what
shopping center?
what I just said is I think that these guys are open
Okay.
later than everybody
So
else,
more than
as far as we
likely,
know.
the other businesses that are in that shopping center are probably home and would not be getting deliveries in the middle of the night.
I think that'd probably be fair.
It's fair to say we
Yeah,
can't
I
prove
don't
that,
know
of
when
course.
the dry cleaner
Okay.
has deliveries, but I think that's
Okay.
pretty. I doubt
Thank
that the hearing aid place or the physical therapist is having those.
The only thing I want to do is, I agree with this, but I want to throw that out as a caveat, that, you know, there's other circumstances that it may put a Band-Aid on this, and I agree, this might be the heavier user on that traffic, but then there's still trash pickup for the whole center, and deliveries, whether it be to the dry cleaner in the morning or in the evening, so.
Okay. Okay, is there any?
I have a
fur-
comment.
I believe trustee Sabo.
No, she can go ahead. That's
Oh,
all right.
go ahead.
Thank you. No, for the petitioner for Circle K, when we were at the residence previously said that because possibly no support, 7-Eleven was not open 24 hours. Why do you feel that you can support a 24-hour operation?
The 24-hour stipulation is a condition of the Circle K franchise agreement, so Circle K won't grant a franchise if there's not the ability to stay open for 24 hours.
They won't,
No, the
that's,
franchise agreement is requiring it. So whether the 7-Eleven is open or not, I can't speak to that, but certainly, you know, it's a condition of the business even going in, from Circle K's perspective.
is that going to be a condition even though they don't have a gas station? I mean, when you start
Yeah,
having
yes.
separate,
No, the franchise agreement that we have has a contingency for this.
Okay.
But it's a requirement of the franchise agreement that this be allowed by the village.
okay, thank you.
Trustee Sabo.
I'm looking at this corner as a corner that could be a problem. Where a store that's open 24 hours attracts hangouts, or it could be a hangout corner. That's my issue with this. I'm certainly not against the store or the fact that they're selling liquor or what they have in their store. But I am concerned about the residents that do live close here. And there are other businesses that are open 24 hours that are in Homer Glen. I would hope that, I would have liked to have seen that Circle K would have found another location, somewhere that would not be near residents. That is my issue. It's open 24 hours, and I understand that that's a condition, but I still feel that there must be another place for the store. Even though 7-Eleven was here, I think that, and it was a 24-hour store, I feel that that was not a good place for it either. So I think to me, it's making two wrongs here. And at one time, the residents thought that this was going to be it was going to be businesses that were going to be closed. They would not be in the evening. They would not be open this late. So that's my issue, that it is a 24-hour store.
I have the applicant in front of me.
Yes, Mayor Daley, I'm Glen Gorman Jr. That was my father, Glen Gorman Sr. I currently am the owner of the 7-Eleven. I've been there for 5 years. The business has been open 24/7 every day since I've owned it. I think most of you know and you're aware, and there has been very, very, very little issues in that location. There is always going to be something with alcohol and tobacco, but there's also dozens of gas stations in the area, and I think I've run a very good business with minimal problems, and I'd be shocked if you guys would not want to move forward and continue on with that growth. My business brings in $2.4 million every year. That freestanding little 7-Eleven brings in $2.4 million. The Circle K will be very similar. It's a large grossing business that I'm sure can be helpful for the community. It'll bring in a lot of tax money. I've had over 30 employees there in my 5-year span.
Can you, the issue of delivery times and what have you?
Sure.
Is there any problem with that?
There is, 7-Eleven, we work with a company called McLean, and we bring in a large delivery once a week. It usually occurs during the week. Currently, it's coming tonight. It comes in at Tuesday around midnight. That can be changed. We used to do it during the day. It was just very inconvenient because it's a small parking lot. It's a big semi-truck that comes in. It inconveniences the other businesses in the area. The truck does not park in the back. It only parks in the front, and the delivery comes in the front. There is no back door. We don't even own a back door. We bring the garbage out through the side. The delivery comes in through the front. It should not disturb the residents directly behind there. And it can be changed. It easily can be changed.
So you can handle that stipulation. How about the?
He won't even have McLean. He'll have completely separate.
Step up.
They use a different circle. He's speaking to 7-Eleven. Circle K uses a different wholesaler. That wholesaler does not even deliver beyond midnight. So the later hours aren't even an option. He's speaking to how the business is currently run. Circle K doesn't use that wholesaler. They're not an approved wholesaler. The wholesaler that Circle K uses ends deliveries at midnight. Anyway, so I just wanted to be clear that 7-Eleven is going and their distributor will be going as well.
So, really, if I understand this correctly, all we're doing is it's the same business format, it's just reflagging it.
They have a different brand.
So it's been successful without issue or multiple issues for some time now.
It's been a convenience
So-
store since 2004.
Are you okay with the change in the time for the alcohol?
We're okay with the change in the time for the alcohol. That's fine.
So basically, it's just reflagging it, putting up a new sign.
Yes. Even the guts of the store will almost look identical. They'll literally turn.
Well, that would be your taste and your,
Yeah.
your formatting.
Okay, if we've got the two issues worked out, then we've got them worked out.
We need to make a motion with the change.
Yeah, hold on. You can live with the hour, one less hour serving packaged liquor, and you will have hours of delivery, what was the motion?
From 9 PM to 6 AM, no trucks.
Can you get your stuff in so you're done by 9 PM?
That may be a problem, right?
We don't have a problem with the restriction. I think we would ask till 11. We can request a time, but there is a route, a distribution route. we can, I think if we can get to 11, that would be helpful. But we're willing to curtail it and not,
As far as the distribution route, and I follow you on that, but this is being distributed in front of the store, the street side of the store, where there's traffic anyway, correct?
Right.
So we want to actually minimize public safety issues on bringing a truck in, whether it's E.B. Brown or McClellan or whoever you all decide to use, bring that truck in through the front where there's less traffic, one, on the streets, and two, in the parking lot, I would assume,
right, that's correct.
and still be viable and not clog up your parking spots.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, which would create a safety hazard as well.
I would assume the other businesses in the strip mall there are pretty much closed by that time, too.
They are, yeah.
They're all closed by, I believe the dry cleaner closes at 8 o'clock. And then
Okay.
we're the only business open from 8 PM until the next morning.
Does anybody have a problem with them seeing that their loading isn't on the backside, which I think we were somewhat led to believe from the patrons that, or the residents over there? This actually loads from the parking lot side, which the traffic on Wilcook Road is going to be a major intersection. The stores that are currently in there, their operation hours, they're already closed. Anybody got a problem with them giving them till 11 o'clock at night?
I have no problem at all.
Okay.
Could
All
I throw
right.
one more caveat on that? I'm sorry,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor, but also, could you work with the owners of the plaza? There's a retention wall behind that there's been some controversy of it falling and who's responsible for it. Maybe you could work with them and help the residents out that are directly behind you on this as well?
I'm aware of the incident. The owner is actually present.
Okay.
He's aware of that issue.
Okay.
And I think that's something.
I'm not rendering a decision or a thought on that. I'm just saying, work with the residents. Let's get that rectified.
Okay, who was the first and who was the second?
I was a second.
It was the first.
Mike, you
Amend
want?
my motion per the recommendations. Go down to 1 PM, or 1 AM, and also delivery up to 11 o'clock.
Okay. And a second, does the second concur?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
Madam Clerk?
Mayor,
please.
just so that's clear for the tape, it's Trustee Costa, that's one on Friday and Saturday, right? For the tape?
1 o'clock.
That's
yes.
one on Friday and Saturday night?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo?
No.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Yes.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kijana?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be H6. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 14-043, an ordinance amending section 13 of ordinance number 14-021, providing for the control of alcohol liquor within the village of Homer Glen? It is understood that the number of Class D liquor licenses package store will increase by one.
So moved.
First by trustee Costa.
Aye, second.
Second by trustee, I believe it was Sweeze down there.
Yes.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kijana?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
No.
Okay, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 14-044, an ordinance assigning an available Class D liquor license package sale to GRG Enterprises, Inc., DBA Will County Circle K, located at 14310 South Wilcook Road, Homer Glen, Illinois?
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo.
Second.
Second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kijana?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
No.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be 8, H8. Let me get around to it here. Is there a motion to approve one special event application for the Bunko Tournament, which will be held on the Cono Farm property? It is understood that approval of this special event application will exceed the village's established limit of 2 allowed special event concurrences per calendar year for each zoning lot as spelled out in ordinance number 08-040.
So moved.
First by trustee Kay Janis.
I second.
Second by trustee Sabo. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Kajianis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee King?
Aye.
Trustee Yudish?
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be number 9, H9. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 14-045, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a special use to permit the sale of alcoholic beverages and a special use to permit hours of operation outside of the normal business hours for the property commonly known as 14142 South Bell Road, Homer Glen, Illinois. Blackhawk Restaurant Group LLC Series, LTS, Homer Glen, DBA, Betty's Bistro.
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo.
Second.
Second by trustee Kay Janis. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Trustee Yukich?
Okay, with what you're applying for, the ordinance reads that you have to have a full kitchen, food prepared on-site, you have to have an ancillary system, and cooking equipment. Now, we went through this with another one a few weeks ago, and I read your menu, and I do understand that it's packaged sandwiches that you pretty much heat up in a microwave or an oven and serve it. Nothing's made on site.
Well, the menu also has salads, it also has soups. I'm not sure what you mean made up on site. I mean, frozen fries that come in and get prepared at a fryer are no different than frozen cookies that are done in a convection oven.
Okay, and do you make fries there?
No, we do not. Our customers don't desire them.
What do you have for cooking equipment then?
We have a convection oven that also serves as a microwave. We have a heating tray, we have a cooling tray, we have a cooling table that allows us to do our salads and add our accoutrements to our sandwiches.
So if someone wanted a hamburger, you're gonna put it, it's gonna be in a pack, it's gonna be thrown in the microwave and...
No, we don't offer hamburgers.
Well, let's get your menu of what you do offer, because the reason that we have in the ordinance, because that's what everyone else in this village has. Your menu is sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit sandwich, egg and cheese English muffin sandwich, frosted cinnamon roll, or a warm muffin. An Italian supreme panini, chicken bacon ranch sandwich, tomato caprese sandwich, Philly steak and cheese calzone, chicken pesto sandwich, turkey artichoke wrap, 4-cheese 8-inch pizza, or a pepperoni one. But how are they just packaged food?
Well, they come in, most of those sandwiches are on a 5 to 7 day rotation. So we do make them out of commissary. They're not frozen. They come in, we have to put them in our freezer. We mark them, we slack them, we then serve them. If they're not served within 5 or 7 days, we have to get rid of them. But we have frozen cookies that come in that are cold. We have some other items that come in and we bake them off at the oven, but not everything is frozen stuff. This is not a burrito and a thing or a Hot Pocket.
But it's not a restaurant.
Well, I don't know what you mean. I mean, do you have to have chicken fingers to be a restaurant? I mean, I'm trying to understand, because we
The
serve
ordinance
food.
reads it has to be prepared on site. Taking it out of a bag is not preparing it on site. And from my understanding right now, the state's actually looking at it to where you have to have food, you have to have liquor, and the prices of what is being spent on both, they want that spent as much as the gambling comes in.
Well, that
Here's-
bill didn't pass, so.
No, not yet, but
Okay, I don't think
it will. But here, the whole thing here is when we approved the liquor license, we approved it for every restaurant that was in the village that had a liquor license, had a full restaurant. Everyone that has one right now has a liquor license and a gambling license, has a full restaurant, except for one. And that one was grandfathered in because we didn't have the ordinance finished at the time. We have the ordinance finished now, and you don't conform to it.
Okay, well, I think we do conform to it. We met your square footage requirement, and we're prepared to invest, $150,000 to $200,000 in this village, and I think the definition of prepared food is really what we disagree with.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Just to clarify, so on the breakfast sandwiches, you don't cook any sausage there, you don't crack any eggs and make them there? They're
No, sir.
basically prepared off-site, and you'll heat them up or toast them or something? And the same with the rest of your sandwiches, none of the chicken is cooked there, it comes to you pre-cooked?
It comes
So
part
you're
cooked
not-
and then we finish it.
Okay, so you're not actually preparing the food, you're
Well, we
putting
are
it together
prepared.
and
We're
heating?
adding tomatoes, we're adding lettuce, we're
Right.
finishing it
You're
off, we're
he-
putting on dressings. I mean,
Right.
yeah,
You're preparing-
we're
you're making-
preparing salads.
You're
We're
making a
putting fresh
sandwich.
items in salads.
Okay.
That's not.
And that's my
not-
question, thank you.
Did you, I'm sorry, did you use the term par cooked? It comes in par
Par
cooked?
baked, it's
Par cooked.
partially cooked and then we finish
And then
it.
you have to finish it
Yes.
based on food safety sanitation of the, not only the state, but the county regulations and
And
health
that was my
department.
point to my comments earlier. We passed every health department that we've been in front of, whether it's DuPage County. We have a Safe Serve certified teacher on our staff. We have rodent pest control issues, programs, 3-compartment sinks, chemical programs, inventory control management. It's,
So any egg products that you may bring in, you have to bring them up to food safety standards.
yes. So we
Before you
have
could serve it.
the most recent health department that we just approved, we obviously had to have a refrigerator that scored anything between 38 and 42 degrees, so it was in the bacteria-free zone. We have to have our water heater tested. We have to have our chemicals on site at all times. We have to make sure that we have a pest control and a rodent control program in place. We have to have inventory control in place for our foods that come in that are not frozen, how we maintain them, how we get rid of them, what the timing is. They have to be marked when they get into inventory, and they have to be marked when they're taken out of inventory.
And so this license that you receive from the county or the state, or whatever the case may be, or the township, if they have a health department throughout the state, is based on food service.
Absolutely, yes. We have, Illinois Department of Public Health. We have to hit all of those standards. Like I said, we've been approved multiple other places where we have qualified as a restaurant with production, with our build-out, with our cleanliness, with everything else.
And you had mentioned earlier, you have a 3-compartment sink, which would say that you have to have a 3-compartment sink, wash, rinse, sanitize.
Right.
Based on food prep.
Yes.
Because of bacteria or cross-contamination of bacteria, so you have to have a 3.
Cross-contamination, we've got the 4-inch minimum between the floor and the sink to make sure that there's not a bacteria that jumps back into the sink. We've obviously got temperature control items, we've got thermometers through the whole process. So yeah, we're very cognizant of food safety for our customers and our company.
And there is a heavy liability for food safety if you don't follow it.
Between potential video gaming and liquor and food safety, yeah, we have a lot of liability.
Okay.
I don't know which one's tougher.
Any further questions for this gentleman?
I don't have a question, but I don't think he meets the ordinance.
Okay. All right, trustee DeVivo?
I think that maybe we need to fix the ordinance again, but he obviously doesn't, this isn't what we wanted. So maybe the ordinance doesn't say the right thing, but he's not preparing food there. He's putting it together, I understand that, but you're not cooking anything really there. You're not cooking the steak there, you're not cooking eggs there, you're not doing any of that. You're just serving sandwiches, and I just don't think that represents a restaurant. And really, the reason we changed that was not about so much the square footage. It was about making sure you had a full kitchen and you were actually preparing food from scratch. And I don't see that you have that type of menu. If you have a full kitchen, why don't you, maybe change the menu? Maybe that could be done.
Okay.
So
Well,
that you actually prepared the food there on site.
Multiple companies do not prepare the food on site. We can go through Tenera, McDonald's, multiple places have food come in from Central Commissary.
McDonald's cooks most of their food there. I don't know about all of it, but most of it,
We
they
we
cook it
cook our
there.
food, we finish it on site. Fries come in frozen, cookies come in frozen, apple pies come in frozen, you know, we have fresh.
But you just said you don't serve fries, so you don't really have a.
No,
okay.
but I guess my point to you is, what's the difference between a frozen
Well,
fry?
McDonald's has fries that come in frozen, but they actually cook them. You know, that's the
And we
difference.
finish cooking our sandwiches, we prepare a salad fresh, we,
Yeah. You're not cooking a salad, you're just taking stuff to go.
Hey.
Call for a vote.
It's just, I don't agree that you're meeting the
Okay,
ordinance, I'm sorry.
listen, there's been a lot of discussion, and I know everybody has their own feelings on this. I'm just gonna call for a vote. Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Trustee DeVivo?
No.
Trustee Kay Janice?
Based on the law, yes.
Trustee Sabo?
No.
Trustee Suisse?
No.
Trustee Yukic?
No.
Trustee Costa?
nay.
Motion fails.
Thank you.
So 10 and 11, if this would have passed, would have influenced 9, so we'll just skip 10 and 11. So we'll move into old business. Let's see. Is there a motion to approve, this is under old business now. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 14-003, a resolution approving funding for the 159th Street Improvement Project and approval of a joint agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation, IDOT, for the village's portion of expenditures related to the 159th Street Improvement Project. It is understood that the total cost of the village, to the village, is $891,963, which includes costs related to sidewalk and shared use paths, intersection lighting, Bell Road, South Bell, and Parker Road intersections, the removal and relocation of beacon lighting, traffic signals, and emergency vehicle preemption equipment and engineering design.
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo.
Second.
Second by trustee Kay Janice. Discussion.
Yes, I have a comment, Mayor.
Sure.
It's in reference to the lighting, and we're on the hook for over $500,000 for intersection lighting. And I know you have asked for if this is minimum lighting, but I think a request requiring a reduction would have been better, because, and the reason is, at South Bell Road, according to the new, there's 15 streetlights at South Bell Road, and that's a T intersection. There's 22 streetlights at Bell Road, and that's also a T intersection. You have 22 lights on 159th and Park. The speed limit's going to be reduced to 40 or 45. And so basically what it equates to, even though it's outside of, within our planning area, we'll talk about Cedar Road, there's 26 lights on Cedar Road intersection. So with about a 4-mile stretch, we're going to have 92 new streetlights. I do not consider that minimum lighting. Now, I know safety. Well, safety, you know, we didn't do anything because Orland Park did not want to join in on Willcook Road intersection. I think we could eliminate it and negotiated a little bit with IDOT regarding South Bell because it's so close to Bell. I mean, we have 37 streetlights just between that, less than a half a mile. And it's, you know, and it's unfortunate that IDOT has this all or nothing because the other choice of the village was not to put any lighting. It's unfortunate that we don't have something in between that would be beneficial to both of us. That's my comment.
Thank you. They assured us going back to January, when
Yeah,
we sat
well-
down with them, we made sure that this was gonna be the minimum amount of lighting per their standards. You asked me once again to make sure that these were the minimum standards according to their standards. They've sent me another letter, which is basically the same letter that they sent me a couple weeks before. They are not going to change anything. Minimum means minimum. That's the least they can do according to their standards. That's it. If you don't want lighting on 159th Street, that's your prerogative. But if the state is going to be involved in it, they're going to do the minimum standard of lighting. And you've seen the letters in the mayor's manager's report. That's that. I mean, this is our portion of our improvements on 159th Street. And I think, Trustee Swees, you say this in such a one-directional way of presenting it. I don't think you realize the magnitude of the size of these intersections. They're huge. They're huge. They're going to have to be lit. You give the impression that there's like 39 lights all just going one, I mean, they're lighting an entire intersection to make it safe. We've had history of some of the worst intersections in Will County. I mean, I'm looking out at Dan Trekkie out here as Will County police officer. We ranked #1 for years and years and years at 143rd and Bell. I mean, we don't want to be known in this community as I can't see going through intersections. Now, this is the minimum. You can accept the fact that it's the minimum, or you can call IDOT a bunch of liars, okay? But this is where we're at. We need to vote on it. You evidently think something could have been cut better. I've met with them till the cows come home. So with that being said,
I have a comment.
go right ahead, Trustee Sabo.
Okay, I commented on this last time. Their guidelines, when they refer to illuminating engineers' guidelines, they're really guidelines. They're not standards or rules, but IDOT has adopted those as their standards. So when we ask for minimum lighting, they're really not giving us minimum lighting. They're giving us their standard lighting. And it's unfortunate that we didn't try to negotiate here with them, although the letters appear to be, that's the way it is. I still feel that we should have tried. What has happened here, what is happening to 159th Street is we've gone from one extreme to another with little choice. With either you don't have any lights or you have lights. But if you look at Route 30, you will see that there are those communities that have not chosen to have all of these approach lights, and they're doing very well. Now, Mokina chose to have IDOT lighting, but the other two communities did not, and it did not make it dark. We could have done something with lighting on our own. We could have delved into this a little bit better, but this is extreme lighting, and it is over lighting. It doesn't mean it's safer lighting. And there is a resolution within the state of Illinois called House Resolution 0884, and it talks about the nation's use of energy. It talks about the detrimental effects of overlighting, the effects on human health, the sky glow. It's added to the sky glow. That's why there is no night. So now we're adding more artificial light. We're adding more pollution, and this money is over $500,000 to put in all these lights. And it's an ongoing thing because it's coming out of taxpayers' money, and it's going to cost the taxpayers constantly paying for the electric bill. And there also was a letter in 2010 that came from the village of Homer Glen that says, in support of this HR, excuse me, HR 0884, responsible outdoor lighting. On behalf of the Village of Homer Glen, I'm writing to express our strong support for House Resolution 0884 on responsible outdoor lighting. The passage of this legislation is fundamental in building awareness and garnering endorsements for protecting our night sky. It's more than the night sky. It's about our electric. It's about pollution. It's about efficient lighting and using using the light that you need and not overlighting. So the state, IDOT, and Homer Glen seem to be in conflict with what is smart lighting. So,
Okay, just for the record, for you folks, I'm going to read you just a paragraph from John Fortman, who's the Deputy Director of Highways, okay? Now, when we first started estimating what our cost would be for our sidewalks, our walking paths, and our lighting, we are over $1 million lower than the original estimates that we thought would take place for the lighting and the sidewalks and the multi-use paths. Here's his paragraph in his correspondence to me. The department met with several village trustees and personnel at a special board meeting held on January 21st, 2014 at the Village Hall to discuss and answer questions regarding the 159th Street lighting. Department staff indicated that the lighting would be designed to meet IES standards and the department's policies and specifications. The department's design provides the minimum equipment to meet the requirements of both IES standards and department policy. The department will continue to work with the village staff to final all design requirements so they can be concluded in the contract plans. If you have any questions or need any additional information, please contact me, Mr. Jose Rios, Program Development Engineer. Very truly yours, John Fortman, Deputy Director, Highway, Region 1 Engineer. This is him sending me back. This is the minimum we can do. So, it's time to vote on this, and it's over with. They're bid letting the job. They moved it back just a little bit to November 1st. They've, as you heard in my report earlier, they've awarded the tree contract to Homer Tree Service. They have 40 days to do their job from 355 all the way the Cook County side too. So they're gonna go all the way on one side, come around on the other side. So with that being said, if there isn't any further discussion, I'd like to call for a vote.
I just have a comment. I just have a comment to that letter, or the comment to what we talked about in January. And actually, I came across some correspondence in April where we were supposed to continue to talk about lighting with IDOT. This is their minimum standard. It is not what I think most of the board expected it to be. Most of the board would not have expected to have this amount of generous, egregious lighting. And we're stuck with it.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Kajanis?
Yes.
Trustee Sabo?
No, because of the lighting.
Trustee Suisse?
No.
Trustee Yukich?
Yes.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. This would be under old business number 2. Motion carries. Is there a motion to support the Public Services and Safety Committee's recommendation to place a stay on the village's staff's enforcement of the village's existing outdoor parking of recreational equipment, vehicles, and/or construction commercial-related vehicle ordinances until March 1st, 2015, while the Public Services and Safety Committee reviews the ordinance and brings a revised recommendation back to the village board for consideration prior to March 1st, 2015.
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich, second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just clarify something.
Sure.
When we had our public safety meeting a week ago, a number of residents did come and voice their concerns, as we did tonight also about boats and trailers. This certainly did give a lot of insight to the safety committee on the issues that go back many, many years. Like you said, you've been here many years, and you've had a boat and trailer way before we incorporated. So now we do recognize what we want to look at, how we can modify the ordinance. We do have probably 10 or 15 recommendations or instances from other residents. Now we have a good idea, you know, what we can really look at in part of the ordinance. Also, just as a reminder, this is something that has been on the books for a while. It's come to a head, if you want to call it that, and got back in front of the safety committee for one reason or another. We want everybody to keep in mind one of the recommendations from the residents that came up and said, well, if no one's complaining about my boat, then just go after the guy that they're complaining about. Unfortunately, what we have here in the community, and it has happened, where if I'm told I can't have a boat in my driveway and I have to move it and it's causing me cost, or if you want to say the word inconvenience, to get it stored, now I'm going to ride around the community and start going to every boat and trailer I can find and saying, I want them moved too. That's another issue that we're going to be looking at. Unfortunately, it happens. One perfect example is in one of the subdivisions, residents have a motorhome parked next to their home, which does not meet the ordinance exactly, but somewhat it does. None of the neighbors have an issue with it at all. Across the street, 2 doors down, someone has a boat in their driveway, and their neighbors are complaining about the boat. So those are all things that we heard. We're going to be looking at the ordinance. We're going to see what we can do to modify this, or see what, you know, the wording in it, and we'll bring a recommendation back. I recommend, though, that in the next few months, if you have the opportunity to go online and see what's on the agenda for the public safety meeting, which is the first Wednesday of each month here in the council chambers, and if this is going to come for discussion, if you have the time, please come and state your case to us also. Let us know the circumstances so we can get everybody's input on this issue. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any other comment?
Mayor,
Trustee DeVivo?
there were no fines issued on this, were there? There were just letters sent?
Letters.
Just letters, so no fines?
No.
Oh, okay, that's good. I would like to make a comment. I do have a lot of faith in the Public Safety Committee that they will come up with a solution to this. And I do not support moving forward with issuing tickets at any stage. I think that this community is a little different than some, and I don't want to be necessarily using Orland or Lamont or Lockport or anybody else around us as an example. We are different, and we have had these boats and RVs and motorcycles in our yards for a lot of years, and I think that they can stay there, as far as I'm concerned. So we got to fix the ordinance, and that's what we need to do.
Okay, thank you,
I just-
Trustee DeVivo.
Okay.
Trustee Sabo.
I just want to say that the safety committee has gone through quite a lot. The idea was brought forth about vehicles in driveways and parked in different ways. And this is a process that is evolving. But the committee is very fair, is being very fair in listening to the residents and listening to the problems associated with each of the residents, and some of them are unique. So this is not a cut and dried issue, and I'm very happy that the safety committee is reevaluating, and it is really a responsibility to be detailed here. And I think they've explained that.
You say Homer Glen is different, and it is. There are the manicured areas with sidewalks for paved streets, and then there are the more rural areas. And you can't treat them all the same.
Right.
That's all I'm saying, is we are not,
I-
subdivision
I-
that has no
Right.
streets, barely, no curbs, no sidewalks.
I would recommend that at the next Public Safety Committee meeting, you bring your concerns, and people that have like feelings, come and explain, what's been going on, how it's worked, and it's been maintained in a civil fashion. And whenever you have a situation, you're gonna have people that, can do it the right way and they can do it the wrong way. And unfortunately, with 24,200 people in the community, we have both ways. So that's just the way it is. Bring it to their committee, and when do you guys meet again?
First Wednesday of each month, Mayor.
First Wednesday of each month. Okay, that would conclude that workshop. The next workshop,
Do we have a vote on this?
excuse me, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukic?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Pagianis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Okay, would the village manager please get it up on the website that the ordinance has been stayed? Okay, thank you. The next workshop would be the discussion with Mr. Jim Ludwig, Woodbine Golf Course, Inc., regarding the village's existing Woodbine Golf Course Management Agreement. Jim, would you like to take the podium? I will give each trustee some time, asking Jim some questions or whatever they have to say. Out of due respect, I will start with Trustee DeVivo, Park and Rec Chairperson.
Well, with all due respect to Mr. Ludwig, I've read the letter that you sent me, and I've not changed my position. Therefore, I move that the current management agreement for the Woodbine Golf Course not be renewed after December 31st, 2014, so that the property can be developed in 2015 for the benefit of all of the residents of the village of Homer Glen.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion. Okay, would you like to say anything else, Trustee DeVivo?
Well, just that I think we have some goals here, and that it isn't to jump into something. It's to get a village hall, it's to correct some of the flooding, and it's to put fields on some of that property. And believe me, we're not going to put fields on all of the property, because I've heard some of the horror stories. Got 100 acres of fields out there. Oh, that's not going to happen. We are going to do this the right way. We're perfectly capable of doing it the right way. We will make sure that we hire the proper people that will design this property. It's going to be designed with passive and active recreation, and I think that next year we need to start, because, you can all say, okay, it's not going to rain, we're not going to have any problems, and nobody's going to flood. Well, we know that's not reality. If we don't do this next year, what if we have some massive rains in the spring? What if somebody's house floods because of that? Who's going to pay for that? Not us, because we're sitting up here and we just can, go ahead and say whatever we want to say. It's up to the people who are having problems with flooding. And they were right. 6 years we've known about the flooding, and we haven't done anything. We've tried to address a lot of flooding in this town. We've been spending a lot of money to fix it. And this is a great way for us to do it. We need the right detention in that area. I'm going to guess that when it was designed, it might not have been the right one. Maybe the weather has changed, and maybe we have more water. Who knows? But we have to find out, and we can't wait another year to do it. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Trustee DeVivo. Trustee Suisse?
Hello, Mr. Ludwig. Okay, if this happens to be extended, tell me how would you operate the course if most of the building would be renovated, say, from the police station?
Well,
explain to me how what
I would have to
do?
make the assumption that what you were going to do is take roughly 2/3 of the building and start to develop it the way you want. That's my impression of what you might want to do. We can operate in that environment. We can run an 18-hole golf course. We don't have to have the banquet facility. We don't have to have the middle of the building. It's not necessary to us at all. I would like to address one thing, though. All of the drainage off the golf course is engineered, drainage and retention. every piece of it. It's been that way since day one, when I developed each part of this. And the area that this gentleman was talking about here, to put his practice fields on, are actually part of the engineered retention of the water coming off the clubhouse area. So you would interfere with that if you went in there and made any changes whatsoever.
Okay, trustee Swees, you have any other questions?
No, not at this moment.
Trustee
I do have some
Kajanis?
later.
More of a comment, if I could. You know, we've spent many meetings, and we're approaching almost a year when we first brought this forward to discussion with the board on the purchasing. Now, here we are many, many months later. We've had many public meetings, hearing from the public, talking to each other, talking to staff, taking tours of the golf course. And the facts remain this. If we do nothing, there's grass, there's trees, there's walking paths. I've stated that before. It's an open spot for passive and active recreation for all ages of Homer Glen residents. Sports groups ask for a little parcel, a little percentage of this field, of the 100 and whatever acres, 105 acres, whatever it calculates out to. A small percentage of it. But that's meeting resistance. But yet, we're willing to discuss turning the whole parcel over to golfers that limit the participation from our residents of Homer Glen. So in other words, if it remains a golf course, if you're not a golfer, you don't utilize the taxpayer property. But if it is open to the public and a small portion for active recreation and passive recreation, it's open to the whole public. So we make a whole issue out of a small part of this piece of the puzzle, where we, as a public, need to utilize the taxpayer dollars. Going forward, we can make plans as we like to envision the property, working with our engineers, but we can't start that process without this discussion and this remedy of this situation on this contractual issue that expires December 31st, 2014. Now, it is said through many business journals, golf courses hit rough economic times. It's been going on for a number of years. This parcel is nothing different. It's going on across the country. Golf courses have closed. Municipal courses have closed. And that is a trend across the country, why there's a diminishing return and diminishing growth in that sector. And unfortunately, as one article, I believe in Newsweek, has called it, an ugly scorecard for golf courses. So sitting here debating whether or not we want to have it as a public municipal golf course and extend this another year, I believe that is a sinking return on the taxpayer's investment. I believe we need to go forward with our plans, RFQ, and start having discussions in the positive, instead of parking the car, installing the car. And that's what I believe has been happening right now. A parked car or a stalled car never moves forward. While you're discussing why the car is parked, installed, the car still remains parked, installed. I think now we need to move this car forward, and the discussions, whether it be the flooding issues that have been going on for quite some time, and if there's an environmental issue, and kids, I heard the quote, kids jumping on the dirt. Well, what about golfers jumping on the dirt or yelling and screaming on the dirt while we're trying to conduct a multi-million-dollar business called the Village of Homer Glen? So, I believe we need to go forward, Mr. Mayor. with our plans, RFQ, go forward with our thoughts that we had last year in 2013 when the village received a phone call, I believe, from the bank to go forward on the purchase of this.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
I want to make sure that everyone here understands one thing. I'm here only because I was asked to be here,
Not by me.
not by you, by your board.
Was it by,
It was
Ted?
at, no, it was
Was
this
it
gentleman
by
over here.
Marcia?
I was asked if I would be willing
So
to,
what-
I was asked if I would be willing to carry on for another year to give you time to do your planning. And I
So-
said I would. Otherwise, you would not see me standing here tonight, okay?
So one person that you talked to, you picked somebody out.
I didn't
and
pick
you
anyone
t-
out.
Well, you certainly didn't talk with me, and you didn't talk with Ted, and you
No,
didn't
because
talk
I know
with
what your
Marcia.
feelings are. But
Okay,
I was
well,
approached to do
okay.
this,
Well, let me get to it now, all right?
okay?
Number one, where's this talk coming of using the banquet facility? We did RFQs, 22 different RFQs that stated that to do this in a multi-phase type of thing would be anywhere from 7 to 10% more costly to do it in two phase. We tried to
You know,
accommodate.
we really don't
Wait,
care,
wait,
Jim.
Wait a
We
second.
don't.
Wait a second. If you really don't care, then do me a favor as the mayor and give it up and let these fine people use it as taxpayers and not do any permanent improvements on it as we work with the public to what do you call it, turn it into one of the greatest parks going.
Allow you to take 60 people, full-time and part-time employees, out of work, and over the next 10 years, $12 million of salaries, sales tax, property tax that you're taking off the rolls, when you could have gone across the street and bought empty property and only taken $5,700 off the tax rolls. You explain that to your public.
Well, I could easily. You failed. You overextended
wait,
yourself.
wait,
No.
You started
He
on
asked
order,
me,
Mr.
he
Mayor.
asked
Point
me
of
a
order.
question.
Point of order,
He
Mr. Mayor.
He asked me a question, I'm gonna answer
But
it.
you started this meeting
He-
out by saying that we're going to be civil and above the belt. Now you just
And
said
I
the
am.
man's view
He
on
asked me a
business failed.
question.
That's
He
unfair
asked
to
me
the
a question,
gentleman.
and I'm answering the
Then
question.
keep it above the belt, please.
I am
Like
keeping
you
it
said.
above the belt. You ended up in a situation where you built your banquet facility to the way you wanted to build it. Times went bad, that happens. It went into foreclosure. The bank was not going to extend.
And you don't
the
understand
bank- the
that this
bank-
is a process
the-
that we were forced to go into to renegotiate our loan with the bank. And if you had not stepped in to make your offer, that bank would have worked with us. We would have a mortgage, and we'd still be in business.
You never came to us to buy it. You went around us to the bank and over the heads of the people we're
I was
negotiating
with the
with.
bank this past weekend, and they're getting very tired of your rhetoric.
I don't care what they're tired of.
And they are talking possible litigation.
Well, I'm
okay?
not worried about
All right,
that
well,
because the truth
let's
is
put
the
it this-
truth.
Let's put it this way. I'll give you a little history of this thing. We purchased property for an outstanding price of $3.3 million in order to create our own village hall, create a wonderful park for the residents, and to fix flooding problems in subdivision
Which are not
adjacent
caused
to-
by us.
Jim, keep it above the belt.
I'm trying to.
Okay, I didn't say you caused it.
I don't have a
didn't say-
prepared statement in
I'm
front
gonna
of me. Go
finish
ahead.
it here. Flooding problems in subdivision adjacent to the golf course. The Ludwigs were willing sellers at the time.
Wrong.
Both parties were represented by legal counsel.
The bank
The
made us
village,
do it.
hold on, let me finish. The village agreed to allow the Ludwig family manage the golf course and banquet facility into 2014 because they had made commitments for events.
No, because we
We're
had
the
a-
hero in this one.
we had
Hold
a
on here.
separate organization that had a
let
lease
me-
on the
let-
property.
Let me finish. However, everyone knew the commitment ended on December 31st, 2014. The village had selected a building architect to help us remodel the clubhouse and banquet facility into a great village hall with meeting rooms for community groups. We hope to begin the remodeling construction this winter. It'll be impressive to maintain the Woodbine it'll be inexpensive to maintain the Woodbine property, cutting grass, weeding, etc. I've already looked into that. Summary. The children and family of Homer Glen deserve more recreational opportunities. Everyone who wants to participate in the development of the plan for the park will have that opportunity. The village doesn't need to provide a taxpayer subsidy to the Ludwig family and tie up 100+ acres of public land for use as a golf course that serves a limited clientele. We need to begin immediately after December 31st to solve the flooding problems in the adjacent subdivision. I don't want to put that off until 2016 or sometime later date. Hold on, I got a few more things here. Now, all this talk about cost and what have you. I passed this out to everybody in the room so they thoroughly understand in case somebody can't read a balance sheet. And I'm not pointing at anybody. John, please explain this. Because I don't want you to think this is me explaining it to you like we've got all this.
There's nothing wrong with your math except the fact that you've taken a heck of a lot off the table.
John's going to read it to you.
Well, this is a snapshot of the bond fund financial position at July 31st, based on some assumptions of future costs that were expected when the bond issue was sold. And really, the top section is just what has been spent to date, and it's based on those 4 particular projects. It shows that we paid out $1,525,000 worth of project costs to date. The real picture begins in the middle, which is the future costs, future anticipated costs, which are the 159th Street, the water acquisition, stormwater improvements, and the Woodbine, well, actually, just those 3. They come to a total of $9.7 million. Currently, we have $15.5 million in the bank from the bond fund. So if you were to subtract the anticipated cost, the $9.6 million, that comes down to about $5.9 million. Of that amount, $9.7 million was for the water acquisition, which ultimately will be refunded
This
from
has
the
absolutely
bond
nothing
issue.
to do with you asking me if I would run this thing for another year. The
I didn't
answer
ask
to
you.
that question is,
I-
vote on it. If you want me to
didn't ask
run it, I'll run it. If you don't want me to run it, I won't.
Do me a favor, when you say that, don't point at me and say, I asked you. I did
I
not
went
ask
like
you.
this, gesturing, okay?
Okay.
I'd like
Feel
to know
part
who
of it?
asked them. I did. I did, and I'll tell you why in a couple minutes. I'll wait my turn until it comes up.
So now, what everybody understands with the bonding process and what have you, not to lose you in it.
But you are muddying the waters here. It's got nothing to do with extending a management agreement. If you want to extend it,
Jim,
extend
we're
it.
ready
If
to
you
go.
don't.
We're ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm not kicking the can down the road. I'm gonna take care of their flooding problems. I want to go to RFQ immediately.
Well,
I
go
want
ahead
to
and
find
do
out
it,
the
Jim.
best
But get your
possible park.
board to vote on it,
I want to
okay?
get the best park people that money can buy to do us a park second to none. And if the village wants to stand in the way of it, that's their prerogative. Good luck. I'm done. Trustee Sabo.
I don't think Mr. and Mrs. Ludwig came here to be insulted. I thought that they came here so that we could ask them questions, or they could tell us conditions on the golf course that we should be very aware of. I believe that golf is still a very important sport. I mean, this place is busy all the time. And I really just don't appreciate the fact that he is here to to help us if we want him to, and yet we are criticizing him and not really letting him speak. You had a prepared speech here. I didn't think that this was the way we were going to do it. In fact, I thought that the ordinance says that this was supposed to be discussion. I didn't know I thought it should have been a vote, but it says motion for consideration, discussion. So, please tell me that we're supposed to vote on this tonight. I wish we had voted on this a long time ago. Anybody's kicking the can, it's been kicked. And,
Mr. Ludwig asked for,
excuse me.
an answer. He asked for an answer. That's why the motion came forward.
Excuse me.
Let her finish.
I believe that if it's listed on the agenda as it's supposed to be a motion, then it's a motion. I didn't know that we could change it, but the fact is that I want to ask him questions about what would happen. I mean, since there's a lot of underground tiles and so forth, what happens when you start bringing heavy equipment on there?
There are miles and miles of French drains. If you don't know what those are, they're basically trenches in the ground with 4-inch PVC tile and pea gravel over the top. And what the purpose of that is to route water all over the place into a collective basin and handle it properly. As you know, because you've been fighting water problems here for years, Homer Glen in the area is flat land. It's farmers fought it for years. There's fetal tiles everywhere. And once you start digging into this, you're going to have yourself one big mess. The other thing is we spent well over $800,000 in 1987 to what I call romance the land. We took it from flat farmland and created a character to it for golf courses. Our irrigation system follows that character, and once you start leveling it off for playing fields or for whatever, you're going to interfere with all this stuff, and you're going to have a major problem.
Okay. The other thing is, if you were to operate this as a golf course for one more year, what are your ideas as far as using the facility or part of the building?
In order to be practical about it, we have to have the kitchen and the restaurant and the garage for storage. The rest of the building can be freed up. You can do whatever you want with it.
Can you go into a little more detail on that?
Well, originally we had approximately a 5,000 square foot building, which is timber frame. And the area of the building that I'm talking about that we would need is that original part. When we added on to it in 2005, we started at the far west end of the addition, and that was approximately in June of that year, and we built to the east up to the existing building. At that point in time, about the 1st of November, we shut down operations completely so that the existing building could be completely rehabbed. So they had 4 or 5 months of building time to do whatever they needed to do, and then we shut operations down. I wouldn't anticipate being able to operate that business any longer than October 31st of next year. That's assuming you were going to go ahead and build.
Well, I'm looking at this as I mean, I know there are people who are anxious to use this property, but I heard sounded like it was going to be a piecemeal fix. Somebody can do it in 3 to 4 months. It's a simple fix. I really think that we need to have to take advantage of this opportunity to extend the operation of this as a golf course. And the reason I'm saying that is because there's more, this will help maintain the property while, and I'm not kicking the can and I'm not stalling, but this will help maintain the property. You will help maintain the property at, I think, which would help us while gathering information for planning a major park. This is a major park, this is a major endeavor. And I think that we'll know more about the flooding issues. I think that we have engineering study this. We have to seek professional advice. It's just not all of a sudden we're going to make a park. It's important to have an evaluation and impact study, and we have to know the full scope of what can be done here before the property is used. And this gives us time. This is an advantage for us. There are other things that we have to consider too. And we have to develop rules and regulations for procedure. We have to make sure this is safe for everybody that uses this park. And it does take time to develop this. I mean, there are people who are very anxious to get on the property. I understand that. I understand that they would like to use it. But as one woman said, this is kind of, there are more people here that represent certain groups than there are that represent other people in the community.
Anybody can show up to these meetings. They're open meetings on the website.
I'm sorry.
Stop, hey.
I'm sorry, we all know that there was a public meeting where everybody was invited. Now, this is a meeting where there were certain people that were asked to be here, and that's the way it is. But there were other people that didn't even know about this meeting who have not expressed themselves. I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at everybody. I'm not against sports, and I'm not against people playing, and I'm not against children having a facility to play, but I think we have to be fair to the total community. And I think with the golf course, there's fences there, those fences should stay up. I think we also have to consider the people who live around there. What's going to be done for them? The people that are immediately there, whose backyards face the golf course. So I'm not targeting any group. I'm looking at everything, and that's the way we have to look at that if we're going to if we're a trustee. So there's just so much to do with this property, and I think that Mr. Ludwig or the Ludwig family operating this for another year will be a boon to us instead of it gives us time. I just think it's premature to start altering the lay of this land. There's just too much underground that we don't know about. So, and there may have been some promises made to people. You're going to get sports groups. You're going to get fields and so forth. That's what the rumor is, and that's what I've heard, and that's what I've read on some a website. I just feel that we have to be fair to everybody. I know that there are children out there, but there are also children that need something else too. So I'm just evaluating. I'm not stalling. I just think this is a benefit to us if the Ludwig family operates the golf course another year.
Okay, Trustee Yukich.
Thank you, Mayor. One remark to the bond money and how that is. On August 28th, 2012, we went before the entire village, anyone that wanted to come to it, the junior high, so they could hear why we wanted to borrow the money and what we were going to use it for. The bond was originally set to borrow $50 million. It was cut down to $25 million. When they cut it down to the $25 million, we had set it up for strictly debt service. And if you remember at the time, we had home rule and it was coming up for a vote. We had a 1% sales tax that was going to pay for this bond. So we had to get it approved that night, because if home rule came before us and the residents of this village turned it down, we had no 1% coming in anymore to pay for the bond. With that being said, the village attorney Attorney Odelson stated that the money could only be used for debt service. And what the service was the water line, 159th Street, flooding problems, and correcting the problems with the subdivisions that were unfinished. So the money that's in there right now should not be used. That was agreed by every single solitary trustee up here and the mayor. But when we bought the property, when it first came out, we were told by the treasurer that the money was coming from the general fund. Nothing was mentioned about the bond money. We spent $1.3 million of the bond money. I'm pretty sure it was 1.3, but I know it was over $1 million.
That's not true.
So with that being said, I've got it in minutes, in executive minutes. So now I'll go back to this. October 22nd of 2013, in executive session, Mayor Daley stated that previously he had informed the village board that the Woodbine Golf Course was moving into foreclosure. However, they decided not to move into foreclosure and working with the bank to resolve the situation because you were trying to keep it at the time. All right, here, I have it right here. Finance Director Sawyers noted the village has a general fund surplus of $3.6 million, and most of it was put into land and capital project funds. At the end of the fiscal year, the village will have about $2 million in land acquisition and another $5 million in capital projects, which could be used to purchase the golf course. Director Sawyers stated that the surplus that is in land acquisition and capital fund projects essentially is home rule sales tax and it's been built up since its inception. But this is before we borrowed the 25. So, we've got that one. Then, on November 12th, the attorney noted that the bank wants to get the sale closed by December 31st in order to get it on this year's books, and he believes this deadline could work as an advantage to the village in negotiating a lower price. Mayor said that he'd find out a price to get the grass cut. Manager Davis stated the finance director, John Sawyers, was providing the village board with his recommendation of where the money should come to purchase Woodbine property. Now, November 26th, village attorney stated they received an email from the bank's lawyer informing him that the bank now believes that since the foreclosure proceeding is not over and the Ludwig family still owns the property, it is better if the village buys the property directly from the Ludwig family. The email indicated that instead of going through the whole foreclosure process, it would eliminate, the Ludwig family would give the bank and the deed on the property, and by purchasing the property, the village would eliminate the outstanding loan. Now, on December 10th, the mayor reported that he met with Jim Ludwig, owner of the Woodbine Golf Course, and told him that he wanted to continue the operation of his banquet facility and a golf course through the remaining 2 years of the lease. When the mayor stated he believes we can be out of our current building and get in a new building within 1 year. And as you see, no drawings are even before us. So to what Trustee Kajania said, that's right. Right now, nothing has been done. The mayor states that he wants to make it clear that people of Homer Glen that the village is not getting involved in the golf business and purchase the village hall and active passive recreation, and have 1 year to talk to the residents in Homer Glen to get some feedback on what they would like to see. Well, what I'm wondering right now is it says right here that the mayor sat down with you on December 10th and talked to you about this and then told you that he didn't want you to stay, he wanted you out, and that you had informed him that you had a 2-year contract on the property. A 2-year contract on a property, if it is not in foreclosure, if it's in foreclosure, you buy it out of foreclosure. There are no contracts, no nothing goes with it. If you buy it while it's still in bankruptcy, a court is the one that's telling everyone how to work this. My understanding from Mr. Ludwig, and as I said before, I did go to Mr. Ludwig because I was told, we all were told, Mr. Ludwig did not want the golf course anymore, he wanted to retire. Well, I got burned a couple years ago by something that the mayor said, so I figured I'm just going to go ahead and ask him. So I went over to the golf course and I asked him, I said, you want to retire? And he goes, no. I says, you didn't want to run the golf course for another year? He said, the hell I don't. He says, I was told I couldn't run it for next year. So there's something that's called estoppel. If you are in bankruptcy, they can't kick an existing person out of the building. They have to wait till their contract is up. His contract really isn't up until next year. But my reason is twofold. I like being fair to somebody. I don't want someone being taken advantage of. And maybe he did make a mistake by not getting a lawyer to step up to the plate and do what the lawyer should have done. But what it is right now is he still has another year. He's cutting the grass. He's maintaining, wait, let me finish. He does have another year left in the contract. The deal was that he worked it for the first year, they pay the village, and after the first year, we give the money right back to him. But he maintains a golf course right now. He does fertilize it. He does water it. It is cut. Everything is trimmed. It costs us nothing right now. We have not, and the mayor said before, which I didn't understand, that when it was decided that we were holding off on the RFQ until we found out if the golf was going to be with us for another year. We asked for the RFQ to get engineering in there a long time ago. We were told that they were going to send letters out weeks ago, if maybe even a month ago. And now we're just finding out tonight that no, there is no RFQ sent out there. Where I'm having a real big problem is we still do not have the money. There is no municipal tax on anyone in here. We will have to somehow figure out why we're paying for it. With the water, he doesn't have the money to take out of the bond fund. And even there, it's the board that decides whether or not he takes the money out of the bond. It's not him. There's not one person on this board that can make a promise to anybody. It is a board decision, and it has to be voted on by 6 people and majority rules. So all I'm trying to say here is there's a lot of misinformation. We're trying to do it right. We're trying to do right by him. You know, it was said that, you know, he didn't run it right or whatever the case may be, and it's his fault that the golf course closed up. It's not his fault. I don't believe there's a person in this room that didn't get affected by this recession. It hit every single solitary one of us. And a lot of the business, his is recreational. And the same thing with the banquets. It's people who have the money to be able to spend money for the banquets. So it wasn't coming in, so it's nothing that he did wrong.
Did we save any other businesses?
Wait, I didn't interrupt you, Brian. You let me finish.
Hold on.
Brian?
Hold on.
So, with that being said, like he told us before, when I took a ride with the guys before, we were told that 10 and 11 was a retaining area for the water. They wanted 10 and 11 to be able to use for the sports. I don't have a problem with them. As far as I'm concerned, when the park is available, you can use 10 and 11. I have no issue with it, and I don't think anyone else on this board does either. But the whole point is, I'd like to know who told you that the park was yours. You asked me who asked Mr. Ludwig, who told you that that park was yours for sports?
You guys, the taxpayers. Yeah. They own it. Taxpayers own it. We can't come and ask them. We can't come
No. Brian, if you're going to be truthful, be truthful.
Well, we can't come and ask? Is that what you're saying? We are not
No,
entitled
someone
to
came to you and asked and told you that you had it.
No, we know it was sold. It was public knowledge. It was sold. It was sold.
You know, you guys can blow as much smoke as you want.
You know what?
So, Mr. Ludwig, this is all I'm trying to say.
You want to know who asked?
Mr. Ludwig?
I asked because I saw it in the paper, and I called the mayor because I know the mayor, and I asked him how quickly it was going to be developed, and he said at least 1 or 2 years. Okay? That's
Okay.
who called. I called.
1 or 2 years. It hasn't been a year yet, and all we're asking for is the 2 years to get everything ready. So,
The man went into foreclosure. It's unfortunate. You just said that yourself,
Then,
George.
wait.
It's very unfortunate.
No,
But
get
you know
this-
what, George? You know, you asked.
Dave, no, let's just get it straight, because I don't want to waste everyone's time here either.
That you asked.
He was in foreclosure, he was also in bankruptcy. Bankruptcy excludes, once you go into bankruptcy, it takes it out of foreclosure. So if it takes it out of foreclosure, he wasn't in foreclosure at the time.
George, you need to just, George,
All I'm saying is that there's a lot of misinformation here. I have no problem with the sports groups going in.
George,
You want to, wait,
address.
this is my time
Just-
to talk.
Yeah, but it isn't public comment. Talk with Mr. Ludwig. That's
You know,
what we have him here.
As far as, Mr. Mayor, as far
No,
as.
you know what, this is mine right now, Ted, not yours.
No, we're back and forth, and I just want
Okay,
All I'm
clarification
trying to say
here.
is,
It's
Mr.
George's
Ludwig,
time.
Please
That's
stop
fine. I just want
interrupting.
clarification.
Let George speak.
Margaret,
Please.
Margaret, that's what I'm trying to do, okay? George, carry on.
Look, believe it or not, this was a strategy through my attorneys, okay? What they said that you had to do in order to get an agreement with your bank was to force issues. You force the issues by, number one, not paying your mortgage. That forces the bank to foreclose. As soon as you foreclose, you go to Chapter 11, bankruptcy reorganization, where it goes in front of the courts, and the courts determine what is going to be the plan. That was the whole game plan. It wasn't just happened that this and that and everything else. It was an actual game plan. And we were proceeding with that game plan until some group got involved with it and messed it up.
And when did you find out that the golf course was sold?
Was sold? We were told to show up at a closing on December 30th. We were given 10 days notice to show up for that, because the bank all of a sudden flipped and said, I think we'd like to have $3.3 million of cash rather than $3.3 million in a mortgage with a customer who's been with us for a lot of years.
You know, George, I hate to interject in this, because this, it's really a board discussion and a business discussion, but that misrepresents or mischaracterizes what happened. Your bankruptcy attorney referred you to a real estate attorney who practices in Orland Park. There was an arm's length negotiation between the village through me and with you through Mr. Loritz for a real estate contract. The document went back and forth through several versions, and the real estate closing took place on December 31st at the Orland Park office. So I know, but excuse me.
Jim, let the village attorney
Mr. Ludwig,
finish.
I don't interrupt anyone. I appreciate you not interrupting me. So the fact of the matter is that this was an arm's length transaction. The reason that the bank didn't want to get involved, excuse me, in selling the property is because they would have had to have completed the foreclosure process, and they didn't want to do that. They gave you a payoff letter of $3.3 million, which was the purchase price for the property. So, let's be honest, no one put a gun to your head to sign the document, to sign the real estate contract, and I was at the real estate closing with you, and no one put a gun to your head to sign the deed to convey the property to the village. I want to talk about something else, and then you can go back to this. We did get a letter from the bank's attorney who was involved in the foreclosure stating that the transaction had to close by December 31st, otherwise the deal was off the table and the foreclosure would have been back in play. The bankruptcy action, your business bankruptcy action, was dismissed right after the real estate transaction. George is right that, excuse me, prior to the closing, there was one of your entities had a 2-year lease with another one of your entities to lease the property. We could not do the 2-year lease anymore because that would have meant the property was taxable, and the property taxes were somewhere between $60,000 and $65,000. And if you'll recall, you did not have enough money to give the village a credit at the real estate closing to cover the 2013 taxes, which are payable in 2014, which is customary. Had we left this with the lease agreement, the property would still be taxable. Instead, what we did was a management agreement with you so that the property is not taxable. And in fact, the village received a letter or decision from the Illinois Department of Revenue just this week indicating that the property is now tax exempt. So that saved everybody $60,000. It actually saved $120,000. When we negotiated the management agreement, you didn't say anything to me, and your lawyer didn't say anything to me about wanting a 2-year agreement. You were very specific that you wanted a 1-year agreement because you had banquet engagements, you had weddings and bachelorette parties, and you didn't want to leave the brides in a lurch. So that's the conversation.
All right. Now
Okay.
let's get back to the reason.
So I don't want to argue about anything. It's just that there's,
Excuse
excuse me. I understand. and I'm not trying to get involved in any part of the debate. I just think that there's some facts that need to be clear on the record. And those are the facts, and hopefully that's all I have to say on the matter this evening.
On the record, I'm here because I was asked to be here.
Right.
Okay, George, why don't you finish up?
I'll finish up right now. With the agreement that we tried talking about for a few meetings, but they kept getting canceled, we're finally here. You had a second year coming to you. You did sign away the year.
That's correct.
Right. But what we're trying to do right now is save some taxpayer money while it's getting engineered, because what the mayor had said before about getting an engineer out there to do one piece on the east side, which would correct the flooding, that's not the way it's going to be done. The whole piece has to be engineered at the same time, because if you don't do it that way, you could cause a problem from space to space to space as you're working across. So it has to be engineered all at the same time, so everything works as one big group at the same time. With that being said, that's why we wanted Mr. Ludwig to have for the other year. Let him finish out the year. If the grass is cut, it's still making money, which that's what he was supposed to do in the first place. After that, you can have the engineering done while the golf course is open. And for all the people that are in a real big rush about this, remember, we bought this property last January. We still don't have one stitch of plans for the building that we're going to build, and it's August. So it's 8 months later, and we haven't gotten anything done yet. There's no RFQ that's gone out, because the mayor just got done saying it hasn't been put out, and the trustees asked for it to be put out because we want to get the ball rolling, so we can get everyone to be able to use this. But to just be able to throw you on, and there's not one of us up here that I know of that told you you could use it, because from the papers that I've gotten from all the sports groups saying that they had the right to start using it at the beginning of spring in 2015, and when we had this discussion, you told me the same thing. The only thing I told you at that point is, I can't approve it.
That's not true.
Wait.
That's not true. That's false. That's totally false.
Nobody can approve it. I told all of you that there's not one person.
We didn't say we were entitled to it. We said if we could use it, this is what we'd like to use. That's different from what you just said.
All right, if you could use it.
Correct yourself on what you just said, because what Dave was telling untruth. You're lying. And George is lying.
Don't you call me a liar, Dave. That's what your wife did earlier, and that wasn't real cool.
Okay, George, are you done?
So anyhow, if you could use this for one more year, what would you need?
What would I need?
Yes.
I need a signed agreement.
Well, besides the signed agreement, I'm just saying, what do you need of the golf course?
You gotta bid it, right?
Beyond that, if you're going to go into the building, you're going to affect all my utilities. I have no idea whatsoever what you're doing down there.
True.
And I have a history of what my utility cost is, so I would say that you pick up the utilities, I'll pay you what I've been doing in the past.
Okay, what do you need though? It would be the 18 holes, and what else would you need?
I need 18 holes, I need the restaurant, and I need the kitchen.
Well, the kitchen is in the front end.
This is a joke.
All right.
In fact, I need the original part of the building, which is less than a third of the whole building.
Is there any way that you could do it with a trailer?
No. It creates a whole new business, and it's not worth your time and trouble to do it.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
All right.
All right, Trustee Costa.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I have a couple comments to make, then I do have some questions for Mr. Ludwig. First, Mr. and Mrs. Ludwig, thank you for coming tonight and standing up here and listening to the arguing back and forth. I'm going to comment very, very briefly on our bond issue. We have to remember, we're very frugal in what we do with our money here. I think our bank account shows that. I don't think we waste very much money here. Secondly, these numbers are relatively accurate except for one huge, huge unknown, and that is, and this is just my comment, and this is what we have heard since this whole issue with buying Illinois Americans come up, that it's estimated at $37,600,000. That's not necessarily what it's worth. That the bank, the courts can determine that the line is worth considerably more. Then it would be our option if we want to put out the money to buy this or to purchase, along with the other communities. With that being said, one of the big issues that we had when we came up with the bond issue is that we had to show the courts that we were serious about buying it. We didn't want to go into courts and say, well, we have $1.5 million on the side, but if we can buy this for X million, don't worry about it, we'll get the money. We had to have the money in the bank. which means that we can't guarantee that our end of the purchase of this transmission line is going to be $8 million. It could be 10, 12, or $14 million. That's one thing that we cannot anticipate here. Second thing is that money has to be in the bank at the time. Let's think in the future. Let's say this thing stays in the courts 2, 3, 4 years and we spend money and we get down below the amount of money that we need to say yes to buying a transmission line. Now we're going back and selling more bonds. All right, now it's going to cost more money. The other thing too is we have, I believe, these are 20-year bonds, John?
No, 10-year.
10-year bonds. What is our call on these?
7 years.
So in 7 years, if we, whatever money we have left, we can buy these bonds out and pay for them, and we can save the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's just my take on the bond issue, and I understand it fairly good, but it's very complex. Now let's get back to the golf course. Through your own admission, Dave, you said that the mayor told you that you can use it in 1 to 2 years. I'm sorry. You had mentioned that the mayor says...
When can we use the property?
Right, okay, and he said 1 to 2 years. I apologize, the way he said it. All right, possibly 1 to 2 years.
If it's going to take years.
Evidently, the 2 years is off the table and you're just going for 1 year. This is my opinion. This is what I'm hearing, everybody. There's been a lot of rhetoric and a lot of arguing back here, so now I'm just telling you what I'm hearing, and I think I understand relatively what I hear. There are a lot of unknowns on this property. You know, we don't know what the design of this building is going to be. We don't know if 3/4 of it is going to end up to be the village hall, or 2/3 of it, or half. From what I saw in the building and what we have here, which is a nice facility, but we need more room, it's probably going to be closer to 3/4 of the building is going to be village hall. Unfortunately, I think that's what's going to be. I would love to have as much space available for community meetings and events inside the room, but we have to think of the future for the community and the growth we're going to need within the office. So I have a problem with saying that, okay, if you can use part of this building for your business, we do not have any idea right now to know what kind of interruptions you're going to have in gas, electric, water, HVAC, anything in that building. We have no idea what we're going to do yet until the architects get in there. So if you're given part of the building to operate your golf course for another year, and we have to suspend, or let's say shut off utilities such as sprinkler systems, alarms, gas, water, electric, you may not be able to be open that day. But we don't know any of this. These are all the unknowns that we don't have the slightest idea yet how this construction is going to come about. Also, in interviewing the architects and being in construction for almost 35 years, we know that there's a definite cost in phasing out a project, especially when you have part of a project that's being used, unlike just going on and doing part of it now and waiting a couple of years to build your costs up. We don't even know what those costs could be because no one has surveyed the building to see what we're going to need to do. So those are a couple of unknowns that are huge. The other thing, too, is that I don't think anybody on the board here is saying that we don't want to make this into a park. This is one, as Mrs. Dilder said earlier, this is one of the best things that's happened in this community in years, I think, maybe since we incorporated, and it's the one thing that's tearing us all apart. I think it's ridiculous. You know, everybody has their opinion, and it seems like if a board member has an opinion one way, we're being chastised via email, in the newspaper, at Jewel, trust me. But we are supposed to respect your opinion and listen to your opinion. You know, you can attract more flies with honey than you can with another thing, but, you know, no one has come to us and said, okay, you bought this property, we really need help. What can we do to help? What can we do to help through this process? What can we do to make this happen? I know it's going to come eventually, but all we've been is criticized up here for thinking another way of this property. We have not started on the building yet. If we really think with a packet that's 1.5 inches thick in one night, and manager's memos, and thank you for Cam to keep us up to speed on what's happening in this community and all around, do you think we can really keep up with developing 2 major issues and parcels in this property? We haven't started in the building yet. We may not even start construction on this thing until spring. We don't know. All the unknowns again. all we're asking for this is if to take one of those unknowns out of the equation and possibly let this gentleman run the course again for one more year. Let us concentrate on the building. At the same time, we can be getting all the engineering done. And again, I go back, unfortunately, though, we can't make any guarantees that he can have all the services in the building. So my question to you, Mr. Ludwig, and I'm sorry for the long explanation, and I believe Trustee Yukich has already touched on this, a couple things. Number one, would you be willing to do 9 holes rather than the 18? Okay.
A 9-hole golf course is an entirely different entity than 18, and for 1 year, you waste your time trying to develop it.
Okay, second question, I believe this was answered already, but I want to ask it again. Can you run the 18 holes from a auxiliary facility like a trailer, rather than using the restaurant and the building itself?
I don't see how I can do that well. Again, most of your customers would leave because if you were starting out as a brand new course, you can play that game because you're developing your clientele. But when you have your clientele and you go revert to that situation, it doesn't work.
Okay. And just my last question to you, Mr. Ludwig, is that would you be, 2 questions, I'm sorry. Just in round numbers, and we certainly wouldn't hold you to it, what would it cost to maintain a golf course for a year? Round numbers, again. Just roughly.
Maintain it how?
To keep it as a golf course, 150,000, let's say?
We, as a golf course, have to make on the order of $600,000 a year before we make a dime.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
So that takes into all the consideration of your cost, your tax, everything involved? Okay. So, okay, the actual maintenance of the course, would you be willing to put money in escrow and then draw off that money as you use it month by month to take care of the course?
Why would I want to take care of it?
Well, no, I'm saying, if it was a golf course, if you kept it as a golf course, would you be willing to put money in escrow up front so that each month, as you're needing to pay your guy's grass cutting and everything that has to do with maintaining that course, you can draw off of that money from escrow, but the remainder's left until the end of your season. Basically, if you're saying that from March 1st to October 31st is your season, X amount of months, it's going to cost me this much, I'll put this much money in the bank each month, I will draw off of that to pay for my costs.
Golf is a bell-shaped curve. And we've been at it now for 26 years, and there's only been 1 year which is an exception. You're looking at roughly March 15th to March 30th when you start, bottom of the curve. Up to that point, you haven't made a dime. Through the 3rd week of June, you're increasing your revenue. Through the 3rd week of August, that's your down point right there. That's when it starts coming down. And you finish making money when Mother Nature says so, which is usually November 1 to November 20 in that area. That's when the snow flies, and that's when you go out of business.
Okay.
So I don't follow your logic here.
Well, my logic...
I would have to be making money.
Right. Well, my logic is, sir, is that if there's a decision made by the board to have you run the golf course for another year, then, this is my personal opinion, I want something to guarantee and protect the investment of the community, in that if one day you're not there anymore, now we have money in escrow to finish maintaining, cutting the grass for the rest of that year. We won't have anything budgeted, we will have no company in place, we have no park district, we have no park department. So I'm saying if it's going to be $50,000 to cut grass, I'm just going to use an arbitrary number, and you're going to be open for 5 months, I'm just using arbitrary, that each month you can draw $10,000 off of that, so that if one day, for some reason, that course is not open, we have money in escrow to finish maintaining the course for the remainder of the season.
One day that's under my control. Not one day after some tornado or some other disaster comes through and takes it out, but under my control. When I just say the money.
Those are just my questions. Thank you.
I would put the money out there, knowing that we had a known beginning date, and knowing end date and the end date, that's when I draw all the money out of it.
Okay, but you would not be willing to, see, again, probably my biggest issue is that I don't want to cost the taxpayers more dollars because of phasing this out and not being able to develop the whole building, because we have no idea what it's going to look like yet. That's my biggest issue with this. We're going to say yes on one hand, knowing it's going to cost us money, but not knowing how it's going to develop, because we haven't seen one drawing yet, not one plan has come up yet for us as a board to look at from architects, so that's my issues, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, just to recap before we vote on the motion that was made at the beginning of this discussion. So people understand and get it clear, the offer made to the Bedford Park transmission line, Illinois American, which, by the way, I'm the chairman of that committee, is $37,600,000, of which the percentage of Gateway is 20.5. I heard some conversations, well, if that goes higher, we have to have money to be able to do it. There is a drop-dead number that we will not exceed, that we feel that line is worth. That's number one. And number two, all costs, whether it's 37 million, 47 million, 50 million, if those are numbers that we can afford, those expenses will be put into a bond and reimbursed back to the village. So no matter how you shake or dance, if you execute on this contract, the joint bond will pay for it, and the revenues coming in that go to Illinois American will pay for the bond. So this money that was put aside for this water transmission line basically showed the court that we had the wherewithal to be able to be part of a group that had the bank account to buy the Bedford Park transmission line. At this point in time, this is in eminent domain, but whatever way this goes, this money comes back. So when people look at this bottom line, I try to make it as simple as possible with the village manager and the finance director. Unobliged bond fund cash balance for the village. This is after your 4 months of, a general fund put away in case of tornadoes, fires, this, that, the next thing. After everything that's in the budget, you have $14 million unaccounted for money. So anybody that tells you we can't hit the ball, hit the ground running is absolutely wrong. So with that being said, we have a motion on the floor. Why don't we reread the motion, Marcia?
Mr. Mayor, can I ask legal counsel one thing before you go on? This was put on the agenda and posted as a discussion item.
Yes.
Not to vote on? So how can we vote on something? Because there's residents that actually called me and said, it's a discussion item, will you be voting? And I said, if it's discussion, no.
Right.
So how can we vote on something when it
Well, because it's
specifies it's a discussion?
Okay, because it is on the agenda for a regular board meeting, and I checked with Mr. Odelson before the meeting, and he believes, and I don't disagree, that it's not improper to consider this.
It is improper?
It's not.
I'm sorry, you know what, again, in all due respect, I wish we would have been told that before this discussion even started, and I wish we had been told that before this meeting started. This is something that we do not do on a regular basis. To my knowledge, we haven't done it in the past. Now you have something that's posted to the residents of this community that says that it's a discussion, and now you're asking the board to vote on something. That is not.
A motion
that is
came.
not
A
right.
motion came through during discussion. That's all.
Attorney Stirk, I have a question, because I thought if it's not posted 20 or 48 hours, you cannot vote on a motion unless it's stated that way. And it's stated as a discussion. And that's what residents believed.
Trustee Costa asked me the question. I told you all that it's my opinion, as well as Mr. Odelson, that it's not proper to take the vote.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized one more time, please?
If it was a special board meeting, that would be an entirely different matter than he has to be explicitly stated on the agenda for the special meeting.
Okay, trustee Costa had a question?
Yes, well, I have one comment. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
We have,
With the motion pending.
Says that a motion to adjourn supersedes all other motions per lawyer, Mr. Odelson in a meeting.
Mr. Rodelson told you that in the meeting?
Yes, he did.
Okay, well, then that supersedes.
If
Okay,
I,
would
if I,
disagree with you.
if I understood him correctly, approximately 4 years ago, sitting at a committee of the whole, he said, remember that a motion to adjourn supersedes all motions and is not up for discussion.
Yet I don't know for sure. I do know that a motion to table this motion would supersede that motion.
Well, it's already been seconded, so we need to take a vote.
okay. What do we, what do we?
A motion to adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We should
All-
need a roll call vote.
Yeah, you know what, take a roll call.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
No.
Trustee Kajana?
No.
Trustee Sable?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Yes.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
What is that? 4 to